Okay.
Okay, we are live.
Hello.
Hello, we have Shu and Dominic in the show today, and then we're gonna talk about specifically Shu. Dominic's not interesting enough. Dominic's just another person.
Specifically
I
me.
I don't mean it that way, but Shu,
How dare you?
because
I
Shu
am
is in
And
the
this
pretending to be
is what you
interesting.
say
Shu is in the
to a
United States.
person. The Dom has been your friend for like how many years too? Look at this betrayal.
How dare you?
Dom has been my friend for what? How long? Well, like more than 10 years, I think.
Yeah, and
11
then
years.
he said specifically that Dom isn't interesting. Wonderful, huh? Mm-hmm.
18 years.
Yes,
18 years. I did not know it was 18 years.
18 years.
Yeah.
So
Can't
was
believe
this
Shu Ern would blush
so
like
we
this.
we brought you in to talk about her life in the United States as a
Mm,
student and what's going on,
interesting.
racism. That's how is an Asian girl in the US staying there and
You make it
all.
sound like it's
So
very
Shu,
tragic.
until now I don't know. It's scary, okay? For the time being, it is scary.
Oh
Yeah,
my
aren't you scared actually?
To an extent, I am, but at the same time, I don't go out and I don't go protest. So it's like if it's I'm not in the crossfires anytime. It's I'm actively doing things on social media and saying things on social media, but that's because I can't be too political as well, even on social media, because like I think they can take away your visa, or like when you apply for a green card, you actually have to give up all your social media. You have to give up your Twitter, you have to give up your Facebook, everything. Everything has to be given to them. And they will I'm not
Oh,
sure the
so
validity.
basically you don't have any privacy, anything.
Well, I'm pretty sure you do, but whatever that you post publicly, like let's just say I posted something every single day about it, and I am like, oh, fuck this political party and fuck that political party and stuff like that.
Ah,
Like then they'll be like, okay, this girl is seriously crazy political, and they like when they take me for a green card, they might not want me as a citizen because of how like political I am being, despite that being the First Amendment or the second, I'm not too sure. But like freedom of speech, right?
so
Um,
that's like you being, yeah.
yeah.
So that's like you being watched like constantly every like what
I
you're being watched constantly lah.
This is how like those
Huh?
conspiracy theorists
Yeah.
like this is all of their shit like coming true.
I mean, you're not specifically being watched, but if you're going to apply for visas, they'll make sure that you're also not a serial murderer,
So you're
right?
not being watched, but you
Whatever.
are being monitored.
Yes, you're being monitored. I mean, okay, I understand it to an extent. Like it's of course a certain invasion of privacy
Hmm.
to one extent, but at the same time also, like if you were immigration and I was tweeting like I want to kill XYZ tomorrow at using chloroform and da 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 da. Like if I was being as psychotic as that, obviously they'll
Uh-huh.
pick it up using your social media because people think their social
Right.
media isn't being monitored. But I mean, you know what? Just it's not terrible. I don't tweet crazy stuff because I am not crazy anyway.
Right.
So,
But
I
I
mean,
think that's understandable. Like, cause I know for a fact that if let's say you're in America right now and you buy certain combination of products that could
mhm,
possibly equal to a product of a bomb, right?
right.
Then they would definitely like note it down, even if you have bought it from different
They
like
definitely know
various
where is it
places.
coming from lah.
Yeah, they can
Mhm.
like track you down from just from that.
Correct.
It's crazy.
Because everything is
Yeah.
connected to your credit card information or your debit card
Mm.
information. I think even if you were to buy ingredients for like meth or something, somebody could easily figure it out. Like, I mean, I don't know what the ingredients for meth are, but I'm pretty sure somebody could figure it out. Like, there's a reason why so many people can cook meth, right? So I don't know.
Yeah.
It's pretty
So
weird.
how
Speaking
is
of
it
cooked meth,
how is it your life as an okay wait, we go and speak it on Matt a bit later on lah. How is I
There's
want to know how
nothing
is it
to speak
your
about meth.
life as a Malaysian. Okay, I think there's a small delay lah, but the delay is a bit annoying because
Yeah.
you have anyway. Okay, anyways, just wanted how is your life as a Malaysian in the US?
I mean, in
Like
what
how you
term?
coping it up and all?
It's for one thing,
Huh?
I live in Oklahoma, right? And
Hmm.
it has like clearly 4 seasons. Like the whole of the United States has 4 seasons, but like if I go to California, winter is kind of cold, but it's like it's probably like 7 degrees in the morning, 5 degrees in the morning. It's not terrible cold, right? If you go to California, which like that's why everybody wants to live there, 'cause
Okay.
the weather is perfect. But if you come to places like Oklahoma, to Texas, to I don't know Montana, stuff like that, their cold is really cold. Okay, we're not talking Genting Highlands kind of cold. We're talking freeze your
Freeze your
ass
balls off.
How many
off.
degrees?
So this
Like
is
how many
actually
degrees?
like so when I first came here, my friends were like, "Oh, it's not gonna be that cold. It's gonna be fine." And I came there and it was like -10, and I was like, "Are you kidding me? What is wrong with all of you? What do you mean not cold? -10 degrees?" And
Jesus.
it was really
But
bad
is
the first
it
time.
like is how is it experience? How is it to experience the American dream? Like, is there an American dream or not? As a Malaysian or any other country residents going to US, is there such thing as American dream?
I would say that it's more about the American work culture that I would want to assimilate with more.
Uh-huh.
Because as an engineer or as any person in STEM in Malaysia, you will get paid 2,600 ringgit, so 2,600 ringgit starting pay. That is bullshit. Like, okay, see,
Yeah.
the disparity in pay wise is enough for me to just go to any other country at all. My in terms of like the American dream or what is the American dream for first, like I'd have to specifically define the American dream because right now, yes, there are better standards of living to an extent. But it's what you would get in KL, is what you would get like in Malaysia as well. I don't know what the whole dream thing is about, but I can say that life
So
has
it's
taught me
just your
that.
own perspective about something lah.
Yeah, it's honestly your perspective. Like
It's just your own perspective or something.
for me as a student in science, as a woman of STEM, I personally think that the American dream for me is to make it in the scientific community in America, right? Because there's much more opportunities here as a person in STEM. Like in Malaysia, when I used to do lab, there's 4 people to a group, and everybody is sharing glassware and all this kind of stuff. One whole table is doing
Okay.
one experiment. You like how how the you get what I mean? Like especially when you're in science, that is pretty crappy because you're supposed
Yeah,
to
there's no resources whatsoever.
exactly. So your resources are terrible for one. And you're sharing these things. So when I first came here as a student, I was like, okay, now I actually have to do shit on my own because last time, like you could share the responsibility with the whole group, but here you're like, okay, no, you have to start doing these experiments by yourself and learning. And that was a really big learning curve, but at the same time, that was the opportunity that I had as a student here, which I've been very grateful for because I've definitely had much more opportunities education wise. Like that's just even the like baby level
Okay.
of it, I don't know. It really depends
So
on you.
if we take a step back,
But
right?
then
The American dream
Hmm.
varies from each individual that has stepped foot in America and that has experienced the culture. So if we were to ask a born and bred American, he'll probably tell us the American dream would be a much different approach.
Hmm. Hmm. Right.
And that's insane though. But if we look at the current condition in America now, right?
Hmm.
What like if with the current protesting and then Trump's kind of lockdown on immigrants and or on any foreign visitors, whether students or looking for work, right? Uh,
Hmm.
uh I think that American dream thing is crap already. I don't think it exists anymore. Like because like you had to work so hard just for that kind of stuff, right?
Hmm.
But if you take that difference and you ask a born and bred American, oh, they're about the American dream, and you ask
Hmm.
about immigrant, the immigrant will probably just tell you, I just want to survive. I just want to get in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
It's
it's damn sad
definitely
actually.
it's definitely different for immigrants or anybody who comes in and isn't an American, just because you have to do things so differently and you have to also abide by rules, which is fine. You're supposed to abide by rules in any country at all. But it's a little harder because there's all these hoops and steps, and it's really about how much you want to stay in the country, how much you end up loving the country, and stuff like that. Like Dom said, like right now with the protests and everything, they are making it really specifically hard for anybody at all to stay in the country. I think they were trying to get rid of a few visa things that
Yeah.
for people to stay in the
Even
country.
recently, they banned healthcare for transgenders and anybody who like has gender identity crisis.
But memang
You
the
know,
healthcare has been really expensive in the
Yeah.
US from the really beginning, right?
Yes, that has
I
been a
mean,
really big issue.
before and after Obama, lah.
I mean, even like, okay, in Malaysia, I would say I never even thought about healthcare as much until I got here because I have eczema, and my eczema cream back home is like
Mhm.
20 ringgit, 30 ringgit, right? And I came here and it's the same amount, but it's in dollars. And
What?
so it's like I paid 35 for a tube because I was getting really bad eczema, and I was like, oh my god, $35. That's insane. And I mean, it's bad because think about the people who actually need these things. Like, of course, if you can afford insurance and if you can afford to be on a really good health line, it's different, but not everybody has that same opportunity. And I think that's where the disparity is, because there's a lot of people who really can't afford it. And think about, I think because of COVID, they kind of reduced the prices of insulin, something to do about diabetics. They reduced the prices, or they something, I can't remember what it was, but basically all this time, the price of insulin could have been slashed down like it was because of COVID, but nobody did it
So
because
what is actually happening to those people that cannot afford healthcare now? Like what you're seeing now, because we don't know what is happening to them. What actually how are they surviving and
they
all?
die. Like, that's the point. If you can't afford it, you die, or you get into a huge amount of debt from the credit card company. You have to pay all these loans off or whatever just to survive. And I mean, it really is your survival instinct. It's really based on your survival instinct, right? Like if you want to take up a loan to pay off all these things or whatever, but at the same time, not a lot of people want that, and a lot of people choose honestly to die. Like, I'm not sure about the statistics, but I'm sure that if you're in a place like Chicago, New York, or whatever, where it's really, really cold and you need insulin and you need all these things, I would choose to die. Like, I don't want extra credit card. I don't want to charge extra money to my
Yeah.
card. I don't want to pay off this whatever for super super long. Like, I personally don't want to do that. I'm not sure about the people who really really want to survive, but if it's too hard for me, I'll just fly back. I'll just ask all these people to go to Malaysia, and then ask Malaysian government to help. Just be like, please help these people.
And
Go to our
if you're
government
going back to
clinic
Malaysia,
here.
come by boat and then sink your own boat.
Yeah. It's like I think there's a really big difference, and I honestly did not notice it until I got here, because I was like, oh my god, like when I used to do dental checkups, I used to go to like our government clinic, right? And you pay 1 ringgit there. You pay 1 ringgit for the checkup. You pay
Right.
1 ringgit for
Yeah.
everything. You have to wait like 7 hours of your life, but you pay 1 ringgit to a person who has time and who doesn't have
Mm-mm-mm.
a job, and all they have is just $1. Imagine how big that difference would be. Like 7 hours
Right.
for let's say
Yeah.
your teeth is infecting your entire brain or whatever. You go to Malaysia, you go to a clinic, 1 ringgit is
Mm.
done. I mean, certain things are a bit more
But
pricey.
how is the government sector or government clinic in the states and all? Are they like the same thing, or are they like also charging at high price and all?
What do you mean? Like, what sector per se? Because there are a lot of different sectors. Like, for what services?
So like what? Like what's yeah? Okay, for a normal healthcare, like hospital, government clinic, government hospitals, and
So let me just give you an example. In Malaysia, if you call 911 and the ambulance needs to come, I'm not sure how much you pay, but if you go to a government clinic, probably 1 ringgit, right? Here, you have to pay, if I'm not mistaken, 300 or 3,000. I can't remember, but it's like Yeah, for the ambulance to come and send
Wow.
you to
Okay.
the hospital.
Right.
Mhm.
Even so
These
for
are
us also, if we
government.
call ambulance, we had to pay a few thousand also.
Is it Malaysia?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure how much Malaysia.
No, the how about the private one? The private, how much do we need to pay for an ambulance to come?
I'm not sure, but I'm pretty. Let's do a quick Google search. How much is an ambulance in your? How much is? I don't want to say. I don't
But
want to.
even in Malaysia, so yeah, even in Malaysia, so you if you call an ambulance, so you if you call 911, they won't directly link you link you to the hospital. They'll ask you to call a hospital, and then once you get a hotline only, then only you go there. It's not like it doesn't straight go. You have to call to another person or to another person,
Yeah.
and if you're not in that area, you need to call the hospital in that area. So it's like
Right.
imagine you're in an emergency, you just don't know where to call. So that's Malaysians ambulance thing lah. Because I
So
know
I
for
just
police
had.
also, you once you call 911,
Uh-huh.
once you call 911, you have to call the cops, and then the cops it will ask you which area you are. So let's say you're in PJ or something, then they'll ask you to call the PJ or hotline. So
Mhm.
that defeated the purpose of like calling the cops like here. Like it's so weird. Like a lot of people are complaining also about it. I don't know
So
what they're doing about it lah.
I just saw, and it's $1,000. So I was way off with 3,000 or 300.
Gee.
$1,000
Yeah.
for ambulance, right? So I'm not, but okay. The last time that I was in an accident in Malaysia, I was in a car crash when I was when I was 15, and my car hit the
Mhm.
divider twice, and I was in point of impact twice. Um, when that happened, I was on the highway and there was like glass everywhere and everything. And I remember specifically I called 911, but the person who took me to the hospital was this random old Chinese uncle who I until today don't know. We don't know who this person is. He just
Mhm.
drove us. I remember we're all cramped in this car, me, my mom, my maid, he was just driving us to the hospital, and I was like, "What the hell is happening?" And obviously, I was drowsy. I was like after an accident, but yeah, it was not an ambulance either. It was some passerby. Which thank you, uncle. You know, like we don't know who he is. So think about it. Some
Wait,
random
this is
passerby.
in the States?
No, this is
Yeah.
in Malaysia.
Oh,
This
also
is
so 999 lah. And then they didn't come.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Sure, 15 lah.
Yeah. So I don't think they came because I remember when I was in the accident, the first thing I did was call 999, and they were like, "Ma'am, are you with me? Ma'am, I'm like dying lah, bro. Please." So like, "Ma'am, are you with me? Ma'am, are you with me?" And I can't remember the full conversation, but they were trying to figure out where we were. And if anybody knows me, y'all know that I'm terrible at directions. I don't know if it's Kajang or Klang. Um, so
Mhm.
they took quite a bit of time, and in the end it was just some random old uncle who took us to the hospital, which we're very thankful for because I don't think the ambulance would have gotten to us on time. Yeah, but that's Malaysia,
Oh.
and I don't know. That's why I don't know the
In terms
price.
of like, it, fair enough. In terms of like doctors and all, like which one has more like credibility? Like prefer here, like the States or here?
So I've had just like bad experiences with nurses here. Doctors, I'm not too sure. I haven't had to see
Mhm.
a doctor. They have not really like a doctor. She is, I guess, a doctor. She's just a person you go. She's like our standby doctor, and she's pretty nice
Okay.
and everything. But I've had to deal more
Okay.
with nurses than I have to do with doctors. So I can't say per se like the doctor. But for nurses, I've had very bad experiences. And then I've just been like too terrified to go back because the first time that I came here, they had to take my blood for like, I think you have to do some tests or something like that. And this lady, I went to the clinic, and she was trying to draw my blood. This lady poked me 6 times, and she couldn't find
Okay.
my vein. And she just kept poking.
Holy shit.
She just kept poking me, and she was like, poke here. Oh, sorry, cannot find your vein. Oh, sorry, cannot find your vein. Sorry, cannot find your vein. Until the sixth time, where if you know, they rarely go for this vein, right? They rarely go for anything up here. This is like your last option.
Mhm.
She
Yeah,
took
yeah.
the blood from this vein, and I fainted.
Oh,
I fainted
because it's too many times.
Oh
Or?
shit. Okay.
because she messed it up again. So I don't know I don't know what
Oh.
vein she did, but she messed it up
Oh.
again for the sixth time, and so she had to like scramble and send me to the ER. She was like, "Fuck, this kid like fainted in my office."
Mhm.
I tried to take her blood. Um,
She.
and so then they sent me there. The ER nurse was actually really, really like there's a very big distinction, honestly, like from my experience in the clinic versus the ER. The ER nurse was like super ready. She was like, we're
Mhm.
still gonna have to take your blood because we still have to do the
They all
test.
prepared and all.
But the ER nurse, she had like a
Mm-mm.
toy with her so you could like squeeze it while you're taking the blood. She had a
Right.
heating
Oh, okay,
pad
okay.
that you put here, and she took like
She
a
was fully prepared with those kind of stuff, lah.
yeah, and she took like a vein that was like here, I don't know, like right here. You can't even see anything here. I didn't even know I had a vein
Uh-huh.
there. And she was like, it's here, it's here. I was like, are you sure? Because I was like traumatized by that. She's like, it's here. I know it's here. And I was like, okay, I guess. She took it, and in one shot, that was it. I was like, So I mean, I'm pretty sure there are really, really good nurses, and I'm pretty sure there are really, really bad nurses. It's just the fact that I've had to deal with one very terrifying one, and then that scarred me for the rest of my life here. But I think it's just like it.
Speaking about all the
Sorry, continue.
speaking about all the good nurses and bad nurses,
Mhm.
how are the cops in your area? Like there are so many things happening now in the states regarding cops and all. Like in you live in OKC, is Oklahoma City. Like how are the cops around your area and all?
I mean,
That I want to know.
there are bad and there's good. I mean, the far as I've lived here, I've only dealt with really nice policemen. Honestly, like even when my friend and I, even if we've been stopped by or anything, it's actually been pretty decent. They haven't been any rude or anything. Um, but there are a few cases that just came up in OKC. Like a video just resurfaced about this one cop who same thing like George Floyd. I think he was putting him on a certain position and he died on camera. And he said the same thing as George Floyd. He said, I can't breathe. There's also been a few instances
Mm-hmm.
of shooting unarmed black boys. And I think there's one in my area specifically where it was an unarmed black man and he was
How big is your area?
uh,
How big is your area and all?
so in my area, I think population is roughly 3,000, 6,000. So not big at all. It's really not big. Kuantan has a bigger population than my
Oh,
place.
Oh shit. Okay.
so
So,
it's like if anything if anybody fuck up, like you know something that person and all lah.
well, you would know a person of a person.
Us.
That's for sure. It's like you don't know this person specifically, but like you will know a person who knows that person, and in the end,
Is
somebody
that
will take notice of it.
is that why racism is not that strong in OKC? It's because everybody kind of knows each other.
That and I would say Southern hospitality. Like honestly, I've put my phone in a very very obvious chair in the hallway at campus once. I left it there by accident. I came back 3 hours later and my phone was still there.
Mhm.
You never get
Like
that in
I'm pretty
Malaysia.
sure like I've heard a lot of I heard a lot of stories of like on Asians going to US and they like always being called like they're being specifically racist towards Asian also. Like have you
Yeah.
encountered any of that?
The first time I've ever encountered that kind of racism, probably it's just when COVID started, and this like white lady ran away from me. I think it was because they were trying to propagate this whole thing where like Chinese people had COVID, which is so hilarious because like statistics wise,
Uh,
it's not us that's having it the most. Um,
Yeah.
but I mean, besides that, it's just a propaganda that people are trying to spread, which is idiotic. Like coronavirus doesn't understand your
Race and
your race.
skin color.
They're going to jump
Yeah.
into you no matter what.
Yeah.
So I think it was the only time I've ever had a problem with racism or anything like that. Like because it hasn't been clear obvious. Like nobody has ever come to me and be like, "Okay, you are Chinese, go back to your country." I don't think I've personally ever had that before. The only time, and then this is the closest probably, is that when it's like after a club, and I think I asked somebody to guess my name, and he guessed Sichuan, like Sichuan sauce.
Uh-huh.
He guessed my name was Sichuan.
Sichuan sauce.
Sichuan sauce.
And I was like, you really
Jesus,
think
that is
Sichuan is my name?
racist as hell.
I was like, you really think of
Ah.
all the things that my mom could have named me, she decided to name me Sichuan sauce.
Sichuan sauce.
Maybe that
Like
was
you've
true.
been to LA and all, like how's the racism there? Is racism still there, like in LA or other states where have you been and all?
I don't know if this is just a privilege I've had, but honestly, in LA, it's more diverse for one. So I've never had a problem with racism, even in LA. I don't know if it's just my experience personally, but everybody has been great to me in LA, and even in OKC. Like you have bad apples, but I haven't met a lot of bad apples. Like, but in LA, it's so diverse. You have the Thais, you have the Chinese, the Koreans. There's so many. There's Korean town, there's Thai town, there's I don't know, there's a lot of towns essentially because LA is so diverse. And I think racism isn't as alive in LA, but that's just been my experience. I've never had not even one racist encounter in LA at all. And I mean I personally like LA a lot because of that, because it really reminded me of Malaysia and how diverse we are back home. So I am seeing all these things on social media, and honestly, obviously, I am shocked because I've never had to deal with that. Like I have had that privilege. I've had that privilege of not, being exposed to this kind of racism.
Well, we don't even need to go all the way to like the States. Like even here, like certain Malaysians would like try to like play around or try to excuse it as being playful, like saying like, oh, because of you, like point to another Chinese person and say because the corona is because of you and stuff like that. Just like pointing, just like a white guy pointing at a black man and saying that the bullets are attracted to a black person. You know what I mean? Like it's just bullshit.
Well, why you go so far? So like it's the same thing that how how all the typical Chinese mom will tell their
Yeah, the
their
Apu
kids,
Nene
if you don't eat, the
get
Apu
you.
Nene will come and get you.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
It's just fucking bullshit, dude.
It's insane because think about it. This has been like a predisposition of like how long we've had this in our culture, in our society. Stereotypes like Chinese people always want more money, or
Right.
Indian
Like
people.
Chinaman's a cheat. Yeah.
So like a lot of,
Malays are lazy and Indians are snake, right? That's the three typical idiotic stereotypes.
yeah. So there are all these
Yeah.
stereotypes,
So
and I
is
feel
it
like
safe to say that you experience more racism here
In
compared
Malaysia.
to there?
honestly, if you ask me, yeah.
Yeah.
In my personal experience, I think I've experienced more racism in Malaysia. And I don't know if it's because we've lived with blatant racism for such a long time. Like we are very blatantly racist. I'm sorry to say this, but it's true. Like even if you go to a stand-up comedian show, I bet you about 70% of those jokes are all has to do with race.
Racist jokes.
And that's because we are blatantly racist.
Actually, that's true. Also.
And nobody is addressing the
Yeah.
issue to racism because we've been so blind to it. We've been so blatantly racist that racism has just become like, oh, okay, it's normal lah, this stereotype or something like that. Like that's how it's always been in Malaysia. And I feel like here, I personally have never had to deal with it to a big extent, and I'm very grateful for that. But imagine the people who haven't had that same opportunity, the same people who don't have that privilege. Like I don't know if it's just the area that I live in or the encounters that I've had that have made, I've never had to have to deal with all these things. But I know that there's a lot of people who don't have that same opportunity. They don't have the same privilege. And I think, like
so last night I was in Hatamas having a few drinks with some friends,
Mhm.
And then, so one of my friends introduced me to this friend of his from high school, right? And he hasn't seen him in a long time because he has spent quite a amount of years in US.
Mhm.
So previously he was studying in Texas.
Mhm.
Texas is a very like gun state, like happy hillbilly kind of pew 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 kind of thing, right?
Right next to Oklahoma, so that's why we get
Right.
it.
Yeah. So like, and he was Indian, and he looks like, honestly, in his size, because he's been there for so long, right? So by eating the type of food for the amount of years, he's kind of grown quite big size.
Mhm.
And to be quite honest with you, he kind of looks more American black than Indian, you know.
Okay.
And I asked him, like, so you've been there for so many years, right? Being an Indian person there, like, has anybody ever like run any racial slurs in your direction? And he said for the past like maybe 6 years or so, I think if I'm not mistaken, he said 6 years, not single one. And even when they did it out of like knowingly that they've been close and they're doing it just
Right.
to like joke around, and they always apologize afterwards. Like, you know, like, oh hey, you're like, my Indian friend will say like, oh, you're a hillbilly and shit like that, and he'll say like, oh, you're just another curry man or whatever. And
Mhm.
then they'll just like, you know, bump fist bumps and then
Uh,
like just talk about other stuff, like be real friends. So like
Mhm.
he can tell like the unity in America is so much more like different rather than in Malaysia. Because like over here you can get direct racism.
Right. You get it directly, and nobody actually says anything about it because think about it,
Yeah.
it's been in our culture for so long, and like I said, we are blatantly racist. Like okay, common Indian jokes. Turn off the light.
Mm.
I cannot see you. Cannot see you.
Yeah. Yeah.
How common is it? The most common Indian joke, and some people still think it's funny until today. I think even with my friends who are white, they are very aware of their privilege and they're very aware of being sensitive to my nature. Like I always make jokes about loving rice because I genuinely love rice. Okay, I have a huge passion for rice, and it's maybe it's
the,
because I am
the
Asian,
Asian in you gotta cut that rice.
but I love rice, and they've and I noticed this too. They're always a little careful to say anything about it, and this is just rice, okay? That's the thing I'm trying to say.
Mm-mm-mm.
They're very sensitive to the nature, and they're very aware. Okay, I shouldn't make this joke because you know maybe if I say she likes rice, she'll harass her or something like that. But
It's
I
not like you make fun of them for liking quinoa. Like
never,
quinoa is rice to like, you know, rice to us is like quinoa for them.
yeah, I mean, it quinoa is not. I honestly think here rice is more famous than quinoa.
Oh, is it? I,
I
I always
don't
figured they'd be more like, you know, a vegan happy and
know.
organic happy.
In LA, yes. In OKC, rice
Not
is
a lot of people.
Oh.
like in LA,
Oh,
everybody eats
okay.
quinoa. Not.
Jesus.
I mean, it's not terrible. I like quinoa, so it's fine.
I've
Uh,
actually never
I mean,
tried
quinoa is
quinoa.
quite nice, but if you cook it properly, it's actually quite nice.
yeah,
If you cook it properly, it's actually just quite nice.
it's like if you eat it with.
I wanted to ask you like,
No, go ahead. Sorry, I was going to talk about rice.
yeah, I wanted to ask you about yeah, wait, okay. I wanted to ask you about they always talk about the Asian fetish. Have you actually like experienced that? Like, all these
Ooh.
white people
Of course,
about Asian
but
girls and all.
like there's a very clear disposition with that. Like especially back then, like 2 years ago when I was single and no life on Tinder. There's like a very clear uh, fetish towards Asian at some point. And honestly, sometimes it's like I
Uh-huh.
feel like they don't link their Instagrams because they're like afraid I will find out about all the people they be hanging with. Like there's
Yeah.
one dude that I dated.
Oh, okay.
I went on a date before. We didn't date. I went on a date with him before, and then like he finally gave me his IG, and then like I went through like his tag profile, and it's
You
all
started.
Asian
Uh-huh.
people, and I was like, was he raised by Asian people or something? I was very confused, but I realized after a while that it was an Asian fetish. But it's pretty obvious, honestly. Sometimes when it's like an Asian thing, you can tell there's like a predisposition towards it. Like you can ask about their exes, and you can ask like, oh, have you dated people of color before? And they'll be like, yes, all of them have been people of color. It's pretty
Yeah.
obvious, honestly, sometimes. But they've never done anything to harm me. Like Nobody has been like, oh my god, I like this
Yeah.
Asian girl, and I'm
It
going
puts such lotion on its skin.
I'm going to I am going to love you so hard. Um, nobody has ever done anything like creepy to that extent. I mean, like I said, I might honestly just be lucky. Maybe somebody who is like actively searching Asian girls. And also I think
Yeah.
it's also about how educated you are on the subject as well. You have to understand that some people have like a fetish like this, right? And what can you
Mm-hmm.
do to understand that you're not just a fetish to them,
Right.
or to understand
Yeah.
further, like some girls. And I mean, this has been like if you guys don't know, there's this show called 90 Day Fiance. And so
Oh,
these people, they go on the show, they have 90 days to get married to their American spouse. And a lot of
Okay.
like not a lot of them, some of them are from Asian countries, specifically Thailand, Philippines, and mostly Philippines. And
Mm-hmm.
it's so there's a very big stigma, right, that these um, American men find all these people who are in Southeast Asia who are really, really poor and have very bad environment, and this is like a ticket to get away. So there is a very big stigma of that, and a lot of like American people, or anybody honestly, like I would say it's not just to America. I'm pretty sure there are people like this in the UK, in Europe and stuff like that, who look at all these girls who
Yeah.
are really young, they're in a really bad situation, and they're looking at this. Yes, I can take you out of that situation. Let me bring you home to my country and stuff like that. And there's a very big disposition about that. But these are girls who haven't had the opportunity to be educated, and who grew up. They're a victim of circumstance. They've never had the opportunity to be like, okay,
Yeah.
I can do something else or something like that. I'm like, there's a lot of girls who grew up like that, and there's a lot of parents, believe it or not, in all these third world countries that have been, you know, um,
Yeah. It's
have,
because of like they don't even have enough of cash, enough money
Mhm.
to like educate them, and then they just like let's just do what's best for the family, which is get money. So they'll do like whatever it is to get money. So it's a way to like, if I have sex with this guy, he will give me money. So it's like this kind of, that's what
right. Even if I
that's
don't
what
love him,
was happening like in the olden time.
Yeah.
Yeah, when the British came to the when Malaysia, like half of the girls in like Indian women in the estates, all
Mhm.
they were servicing British men for money.
Mhm.
That's the way
And
of how
it's
they were getting
honestly
money back
very
then, lah.
sad, lah. Yeah.
So I think, yeah.
But okay, think like
Mm-mm-mm.
I have been very, very blessed to have had two parents who basically said no dating until you die. But
Yeah,
that aside, I'm saying like my I've had two parents who have actively told me, okay, you know what, don't do this, don't do da 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 da. So I think I have had that opportunity, and a lot of people in many other different countries, Asian countries, third world countries, who haven't had that same opportunity. And I think that is where the Asian fetish is the most dangerous, because that is where it's a predator versus prey situation. It's no longer two consenting adults. Like some people, I'm pretty sure some people know that their partners have Asian fetishes, but they are two consenting adults who can think for each other and be like, okay, maybe you do like this, and I am fine with that. When it's two consenting
yeah,
adults about it, you cannot say anything about it. But when it's a predator versus prey situation, that is when something is wrong. That is when okay, that
yeah,
is when the Asian fetish is.
but also they are like I was just talking to a friend. They are like a two side two when it comes to the diagram of the predator. There are two sides of them. One, they are full on predator, and one more it's a like, I don't notice what I'm doing wrong, but
Mm-hmm.
then I'm seeing you enjoying it, so I'm doing it. So there's a fine gray line between those two kind
right.
of predators. So it's like some people, some girls, some guys are just like, I'm just going with the flow, like how the flow takes us, and then eventually, like, he doesn't realize that he's doing wrong and all. So what do we do about those kind of guys? Like, we don't see the signs. We don't Like we can't see how the girl's feeling in
When it's like that,
and
and
all.
I think
So
this
like,
is
what
the
do we
big,
do for this kind of thing?
I mean, honestly, the biggest issue there is still the communication. It doesn't matter if this is about Asian fetishes at all. This is about relationships, right? You're talking about a guy who's
Yeah.
like, oh, I don't know if she's having fun. I don't know if she's doing this, da, 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 da. You may not know it, but you also have a mouth and you also have the right to ask her whether or not this is something she is okay with. That, like, you can't just say, okay, she looks like she was having fun, so but you didn't say anything. If you didn't say anything, can you say that you've actually dissected the cause of it? Can you actually say that you've dug really deep? Because one day, if she decides to, just switch it up on your ass, you have
Yeah.
nothing against you.
Yeah.
Shit.
The court
But
is.
I thought about this as well.
Mhm.
Like okay, so previously, like all these stories coming on Twitter about the sexual assault cases and everything, right? And
Mhm.
then that got me thinking, like try to reflect on myself and try to think about my past experiences with
Right.
females,
Have
and
you
then
done
try to think that if
anything?
have I ever done
Have
anything.
you done anything? No.
That's the thing. I wouldn't have a clue because I've been trying to think, and I like just to preemptively reflect and see whether if I've done anything wrong, just approach them right now and just apologize
Right.
for it, right? Just own up and apologize for it. And when I was doing this, I was just thinking to myself like how terribly afraid I am that if I have even the possibility of wronging someone and
Mhm.
I had no intention of, that
Mhm.
would be so extremely terrible. Like
Right.
you just did this to someone and you had no idea, and you showed no remorse during that period because you paid no attention to your actions, and
Mhm.
it's just so sad. So
Right.
for me, like the thing that I'm now practicing is that from everything that you do now in like courtship or when you speak to females, there has to be that clear two-way communication. But
Mhm.
then again, if you think about it, right? So like for a guy, when we pick up girls, we have to be like a certain things. Like we have to be chivalrous, we have to be
Mhm.
charismatic, we have to be clever with our pickup lines, we
Right.
have to be like a bit of a like stand-up guy and everything. But when and especially spontaneous, right?
Mhm.
Because we want to see him appear fun and everything. But when we start to like for example, like if you're sitting in a car and things get heated up and you deep down your instincts, like a guy instincts will tell you that I feel like this is the right time to like kiss the girl and everything, right?
Mhm.
And let's say you reach over and then
Mm-mm.
she reaches over as well and then you guys make out. But
Mhm.
how do you know that in her head she's just coming over because she's pressured by social by social standards, like, oh, usually when a guy leans over I should lean over too and then I kiss, but deep down she doesn't want to, right? And then
Mhm.
later on she calls you out on Twitter and says like, actually I quite didn't want to. I tried pulling away but we were already making out and he was like holding my face and everything, so couldn't do anything. And if you introduce that communication still, right, which is a good thing,
Right.
but you take away that spontaneity, you take away the charisma
Mhm.
nature of a guy, everything is like no spontaneity at all. You just
It's boring,
can I
right?
kiss
It's,
you?
it's a
Yeah, it becomes a
it's a
bit boring. So
plain paper.
yeah, so like that I think that middle ground is very important, and now it's like a new standard for guys to think of
Mhm.
how is it best that I can communicate my intentions without having to ruin the spontaneity between this person that I would like to court, you know.
I mean, okay, I understand that point of view. I honestly understand that point of view, right? Like, but let's just say it's a kiss. You can always ask. You can always ask, right? I think it's very clear, or some signs are pretty clear. And if it's not, you can always ask after. Let's just say you decide to be spontaneous at the moment. You can always ask her after, were you okay with it? Were you specifically okay with me kissing you? Because if not, I want to apologize first, right? Let's
Mhm.
just say you did it and she did it and she's like, there's nothing wrong with asking her right after if everything was
Mm.
if she wanted it as well, because you can
But
still.
there are some girls like they are like there are some girls that like, you know what, I it's it just ruins the moment of asking, like every time you do something you gotta ask, it just ruins the moment. They are like, you know what,
Listen,
it just cuts off everything, so it's like, how does it go
It's
on?
now,
it's like
listen,
it's like you ask the girl right after, like in the middle of fucking, right? Then you ask the girl, "Did you come?"
listen. This is nothing to do with it. It has nothing to do with in the moment or not. I understand why you think that is an issue,
Mm,
right? Your balls turn blue, your balls turn okay. Your balls turn blue again, then suddenly your balls turn okay. It doesn't matter. Your balls can change colors
yeah.
7 times a day, but if you don't, it's very simple. Just go on Pornhub. There's a lot of things you can do to get rid of this blue ball situation. It's not about that. It's about you making sure that everything that is happening is consensual. Like, your having blue balls is a temporary moment. Her having trauma is a permanent thing.
Forever.
It's forever.
Yeah.
You can, like I said, you can
Mm,
always ask her after, or you can ask her before. Obviously, with like sex and everything, you want to make sure that it's before because it's more traumatic,
Right.
right? After. I'm talking about before it, even if it
mm,
ruins the moment, you are talking about 3 seconds of "Are you okay with this?" versus her permanent trauma as a
mhm.
female. Like,
Right.
her permanent trauma, she
So
has
like
to
I
live
wanted to
with this.
come.
Mhm.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about the trauma thing. Like, SK, for example, for guys, we obviously we don't understand the trauma part. Like, how is
Mhm.
it really affecting our minds, and how actually
Right.
how long it actually takes us to recover from the trauma. Like, as girls, like, how do y'all like how is it actually affecting y'all? Like, in what way? And so like guys, we could understand where you guys are coming from, because sometimes we wouldn't know where how the trauma comes in and
Mhm.
all.
So I would say let me talk about my experiences just in general about sexual harassment, sexual abuse, and stuff like that. Um, with sexual harassment, the first time I think that I was actively sexually harassed is when I was at a bus stop after college. This dude like was in a car. He took his dick out and started like masturbating in front of me. Okay, and that not only happened to me
Which,
once; it happened to me twice. Okay, and here is the reactions that I had
mm,
from the male counterparts that I told to. Okay, the first person I told it to was my boyfriend at the time, and he laughed at my face. Okay, that is already traumatic at its best, right?
mhm.
He
Mm.
laughed and he said, "I think you should take it as a compliment," right?
Fuck that.
So that's trauma
What?
number one.
Okay.
Trauma number two is when I experienced it the second time, and I posted it on my Facebook trying to spread awareness, saying, "Okay, this car is doing this."
Mm.
And one of the comments that I got was, "Oh my god, you must be really hot." What the fuck?
Mm, mm, mm.
Doesn't okay. Here's another thing I have to say about the situation. On both times that this has happened to me, I actively remember what I wore. Like it was something I had to do to defend myself against what these men were doing to me. I
Mm.
actively remember what I wore
Mm.
because I was wearing long sleeve with jeans or short sleeve with jeans. It doesn't get any much more covered up than that. What are you wanking to my arm? Like, all I'm saying is these men. It doesn't matter what you wear, but that was what I had my initial um my head was immediately like, okay, record down what you wore because this will help you. Like, it was
Right.
my responsibility to dress so appropriately so that these men will not
Mm.
wank. It doesn't matter. I wore completely clothed things. I wasn't. It was
Yeah.
jeans. It was jeans and a shirt. How much more covered up can I
The
be?
fact that people are asking you to remember what you wore is already like, what the fuck? It's already
Yeah.
putting you guys already in trouble first. So
Exactly.
that
Yeah.
it's always the other side. Like, yeah.
It's always victim blaming. It like it doesn't matter what they wear. Like even in India, they're fully covered and
Mm-hmm.
they still get raped.
Yeah.
It's not about what you
Mm.
wear. It's
Yeah,
about
but
what you teach your damn boys, man.
that's what I mean though. Like, for both instances, I remember that I had to do it just because I was like, okay, wait, what if somebody asked me what I was wearing? What if I was wearing a short skirt, something like that? But that has been in my head for so long, for a very long time, right? Because my
Yeah.
parents always said, don't wear short clothes, don't wear do this, da 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 da. I understand that from a parent's perspective. I do. Because in their time, prevention was a piece of cloth. But in our time, where women have had the courage to come up and be like, okay, don't say this because this is victim blaming. We can educate ourselves better about the topic. But like I said, when I came out with all this, when I started telling people about this, like at that time, my ex, he just laughed at my face. I am scared for my life. Like I said, this could be somebody who's just sitting in a car, touching his dick and masturbating, right? What if he decided to do more? At any point, what if he decided to come out in the car and do more? Nobody thinks about the what ifs. They, even if the chances are minusculely low, or even if there is like a 30% chance, and somebody did a statistic, a 30% chance is still a 30% chance. You are talking about male urges that need to be controlled, because these assholes don't understand that, okay, you know what? It doesn't matter. You need to calm your dick down. And like things like this, you never would think that trauma like this would affect a woman for a very long time. This guy didn't do anything to me except masturbate from a distance, right? That was 5 years ago, and I
And
still remember it today.
it's damn sad that the narrative is what if he. It should always be why didn't he? Why didn't he stop and think? Why didn't he just took a different direction? Why didn't he not do that at all? Why didn't his friends keep him accountable? Like, it's damn sad that the narrative is what if, because what if is like a 50-50, right? It's like it's already a plan to regret already. Like, why didn't he is more preemptive? It's like you're you know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
It's
the
just
world
sad.
is a shithole.
Like, I also wanted to talk about like
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about was it the fact that people were blaming you, like what were you wearing and all, like that one was a bit sick, like it's a bit suckish, because that's what's happening now in Malaysia. Like you go to like you go to clubs and all, you see all the girls getting they are getting harassed and all, and then guys specifically will tell, like they only blame to the girls that it's because of what of how you dress and all. So that also brings another issue, like what happened if girls are deeply affected by that. Imagine how that could be another traumatizing thing. So they could be feeling like, oh shit, I don't feel comfortable in this. Should I not wear this? Because I wore this vest to feel good about myself. Now people are rejecting of how I'm feeling now. So
So
that's where another trauma builds up into them.
see, in the world of clubbing, there's two kinds of men. Okay, there's always two kinds of men. One is the men that will stick up for you. Another one is the sleazy ass dudes, right?
I
And
like how the tell me, I'm gonna tell you something girl hand just came up.
like and it's very obvious too. When this was in one of your sets, Pritu, this old dude, he just kept touching me. This sleazy old man.
Where was this?
This was in Arte Bar, I think.
Where was this?
Arte Bar, like track.
Oh, okay.
I think so. Yeah, it was Arte. It was on top, the second floor, when you had a set. I told you after, but
Okay, got it.
but anyways, this dude, he just kept. I was wearing, I think, a short dress, but see, like I remember all these things because I had to suddenly be accountable for all this shit. I was wearing like a short dress, but this dude just kept rubbing on my back. He was like clearly reaching for my ass, and all I was doing was I was in front of the barkeep and I was asking for drinks, and that was all. And he kept doing it. He kept doing it. He kept coming back. He kept coming back. And at one point, this one Indian dude, shout out to this Indian dude, I don't know his name. He came to me and he was like, he whispered in my ear. He said, "Come back to my table. This dude is clearly like doing something." He's like, I have a table. Just come here, okay? You'll be safer here." He whispered in my ear at the time, and then so the dude came and he pretended to be my boyfriend. He's like, "Sorry, I left my girlfriend to get the drinks. You know, it's actually on our table." So he put me back to his table and he was like, "Bro, that was disgusting, man. I saw how he was touching you and how you were like flicking him off. And that dude like obviously came to my rescue. So like I said, there's two different kinds of men in that kind of world.
Yeah.
You have to choose who you want to be. And I know that in the world of clubbing and everything like that, things get a little bit blurry because, alcohol and stuff like that. But it doesn't excuse you. That guy who saved me was clearly drunk as well. Like, he probably doesn't even remember this. And it's okay because even in his drunk state, his natural instinct was, let's save this poor girl who's being rubbed on all over by this random dude. Like, can you educate yourself to that point where that is your basal instinct? This dude did this by instinct. He didn't do this. I mean, I hope, even if it wasn't his instinct, I hope that this is something he educated himself to do. Can you honestly educate yourself to that point? Like, when you see a girl who has been, if you see something clearly off, like me, I was flicking this dude's arm off.
Yeah.
Will you say something as well? It's not just about saying something too. I mean, it's not just about like, noticing what's wrong. It's about saying something and making sure that something you can do something. If not, like this dude, he didn't pretend.
And also, like, it's also like wanted like some girls are like, they're not brave enough to say a lot of things because that's the way they're raised off. So it's like some girls, like, how do you address these kind of girls to like speak up and all?
dude, even some guys also, they just like, when they see it happening right in front of them, they just don't have the courage to step up and do something also. Like, it's a culture imprinting, like this.
Yeah.
Like, no courage, no balls to say anything, to do anything.
It's also like, and that's what Dom said is honestly right. It's like some guys see it happening. It's not like I was in a fucking ocean with nobody around, okay? I was in a bar with at least 50 people
Everyone's around you.
So I was standing, let's just say this is the barkeep, and there's a line. I'm probably standing, okay, that's very bad in camera angle, but basically where I was standing, the people in front of me could see it. Everybody in front of me could see it, and nobody said a word except this one dude. And that one dude, he actually came up to me, he whispered in my ear before and said, "Can I pretend to be your boyfriend first?" He asked for permission. Honestly, he said, "Can I pretend to be your boyfriend? Because I can see that this dude is da 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 da." Like, he didn't come up to me and be like, "Hello, this is my girlfriend," or stuff like that. He did it because he saw something and he asked for my permission, and then he said, "Okay, let me do something about it if I can." It's in my willpower to do something too. So, you can choose to be that man, choose to be that dude. Because girls need more dudes like that in bars. Honestly, we really do.
Not just in bars, maybe in the country.
I want to talk about that. What's this? Like, how if alcohol comes into position when a guy and a girl, basically alcohol change perspective of a person's mind and all. So suddenly, like these two people under the influence of alcohol, female and male, decides to have consensual sex. But what happened? They were intoxicated. But what happens if the girl suddenly change her mind during when it was sober time? Like,
they wake up the next day.
How do we go by that? Yeah.
Like
how do we go by that?
You were drunk and you didn't know what was happening. You are still responsible for it because it is still your penis that went into her. But what you can do, you can ask her, you know what, I'm sorry if whatever that was happening, I hope that you are okay with it. And you can also ask, are you okay? Were you okay with it? Because you can apologize if she wasn't. You can apologize if she wasn't. Right?
Yeah.
And I think that's one thing that has to be addressed, because I'm not going to go into details of this, but when something similar happened to me, well, it's not really. But anyways, in my when something of sexual abuse happened to me, I called the person the next day and I said, I don't remember anything. How could you do this to me? And stuff like that. And I was crying. I was at work. I was crying. I was like, this doesn't feel right. And da 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 da. And this person said, don't pull this Me Too bullshit on me. Like, how is that your response? So as men, do better.
Yeah.
Do better. If a girl can come up to you and personally confront you about a nature of abuse, don't disregard her feelings. Don't disregard her feelings at all. It doesn't matter if you guys were drunk at the time, you can always ask and you can always make sure that this is something that you guys wanted. It doesn't matter if she was dressed like that, if she doesn't matter if she was, especially if she was drunk off her ass, honestly. If you can remotely remember what was happening, happening,
Hampering.
if you can
Okay, sorry.
if you can
Okay,
remotely,
continue.
like if you can remotely remember what was happening. Oh, what happened to Pritu? Pritu, something happened to Pritu.
I don't know. I think his connection got you. But continue. You were
Yeah.
saying.
So if you can remotely remember what was happening to you and to the person, you can also like actively ask and apologize if this was something that she didn't want. You know, it's not too late to ask, even if you think, okay, let's just say somebody got, like both of you got drunk and both of you didn't know what was happening, and then the next day you both wake up naked. You
Mhm.
immediately, as
Hmm.
as a tone of response, you should immediately be, you should
Yeah,
immediately ask her.
Right.
I mean, you should immediately ask her if she was comfortable with the situation, because she might not have been, and she might not have been conscious enough to make that decision. But the thing is, it it's not about where the lines get blurry. It's about what you can do if you've done something wrong. Can you rectify it? And you can. You
Mhm.
can ask her if something went wrong. Let's just say you have done something like that already, and you don't know, you can't recall if you've ever done something to wrong somebody. You can always actively reach out to the person and be like, hey, I don't know if,
I'm so sorry because there are cops like right down my house and they're shouting and shouting. I just got to go check it out for a while.
oh my God, neighbors or what?
Yeah, I don't know. The cops were just like, I don't know because I know there were one car park and the cops suddenly just came and then they were shouting at the cops. Cops were shouting at them. I don't know. That's why it was really loud. Like outside, I went check it out.
Yeah. No,
Okay, you were saying.
Yeah.
You were saying.
I was telling Dom that you can actively fix something that
Yeah.
you feel is wrong. If you feel it's wrong, that's your biggest
Yeah.
indicator already. If you think
Yeah.
that you could do something to a girl that could actively add to her trauma, you should ask and apologize when you do. Like I
Right.
said, like here I was
Hmm.
confronting my abuser or the person who assaulted me, and this person actively said, "Don't pull this Me Too bullshit. No apology, no nothing." Will
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
do that same
Like
kind
every girl should have the rights to. Yeah, every girl should have the rights to. If you don't feel comfortable, you are allowed to say, "Hey, you know what? We are not buying. We got to realize we're not bound to that person.
of
We can't
Mm.
always follow that person. So because it's who are you to be bound? So and then like also like going back to the whole social, it's a good thing how girls are coming out to and they are storing their all the stories to social media. But there are some other girls also that are taking use of this platform on making up stories to get
Mm.
revenge on people. Also,
Yeah.
I've
So it's
seen
about
couple like
integrity
there
as
are
well.
cases in the US like yeah, it called like I remember in US there were what I think the one or the Indian girl came out and told that this Indian boy raped me and all, and then he lost all his scholarship. But after a few months in the trial,
Mhm.
they found like footages of the Indian girl like planting everything. That means there were the CCTV recorded her she talking to the friend that we were telling that let's go, we have to do this and all, and then it was fake
Right.
Well, she framed the
and
guy.
also like there are some people that are yeah it's all fame,
Mhm.
it's all planned from day one.
Mm.
So that and it's always when it comes to these things, it's always the girls word against the guys one.
Right.
So what is your point exactly on that stance?
I think it's about
So like
integrity. Like if you
I'm
if
I'm
like it's important for
yeah
guys
it's
to acknowledge the situation, consider the factors involved, like alcohol, where you guys are, what you guys were doing, and the girl's feelings, and then the third most important thing is do what
yeah
you think is right. For
Mhm.
example, if you want to apologize first by considering all the factors and acknowledging the situation, you feel like I think I should apologize for what happened last night because even I was drunk and I was not sure
yeah
that I
Right.
wanted to do it, but I did it anyways. So there's no harm in you apologizing first, owning up to your actions. Meaning, I understand that I've had sex with you and everything, and we were both drunk, And I also understand that although last night you were consensual about it,
Mm,
however, you gave your consent while you were under the influence, right? So it
exactly.
may not be, yeah, it may not be accurate, right?
And I think a lot of guys don't
Yeah.
understand that that is a reality for a lot of girls too. You both can be drunk and you both cannot understand what the hell is happening. When you
Right.
both are drunk, both of them are
Yeah.
not consensual, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-mm.
And if the girl the next day doesn't feel comfortable about it, don't be defensive. There's nothing to be defensive about. You were drunk,
Right.
but you can apologize for it.
Yeah.
You can be like,
Right.
okay, I'm sorry that I
Yeah.
didn't
That.
know.
Yeah.
That's exactly what Dom said, honestly. Like, if you were drunk and she was drunk and something happened,
Mm-mm.
and then the next day she calls and she talks about it, don't be on the defense. This is how she feels. Don't disregard how she feels. You can
Yeah.
apologize,
Mm-hmm.
especially if it's somebody you know, honestly. If it's
That I think. Yeah. That's when all the guy's ego will come in place. Where like, hey, you know what? I'm nothing to say sorry. That's a really big thing that guys shouldn't have. That ego
That's
of
toxic
you should always
masculinity,
like have
dude.
like you talk to her. Yeah, it's the testosterone's building up. It's
Yeah,
like
exactly.
it's for them. It's so proud of doing this.
see,
Like
it's
I,
So
like
like
I
that's the thing I don't
quoted
get
a girl or whatever.
everything
Like,
it's just
because I've known the girls.
like
I've known like a lot of people went into this kind of trauma,
mhm,
because it's not good to leaving a girl to a trauma. Just talk it out. Leave your
mm,
ego aside and just talk it out, because
yeah,
the trauma that girls, a lot of guys, I know a lot of guys, they don't understand the trauma good, because a lot of my friends who went through it, and I've known, and I personally don't know how to handle this trauma, because I'm seeing this for the first time and I'm like, wow. I was too overwhelmed for at one point, but the
mhm,
trauma I'm seeing this trauma of girls going through, it's not easy, it's not hard. That's what guys don't understand. The trauma of happening.
mhm,
mm. Like have some integrity. Like, be honest not only with the person in front of
Yeah.
you, but also with yourself. And there's no harm in being vulnerable with yourself also. Like, you have to first reflect and be open with yourself, accept yourself, and then portray that to the other person. Like, if let's say in the context of the situation we just narrated, then the other person that you just had sex with.
yeah, it's honestly just about open communication. But
Mm-hmm.
like I said, if a girl does come up to you and she says, you know what, I wasn't comfortable with what happened, and yada yada yada, don't disregard her feelings. I think that's
Right.
one of the biggest things that as a guy you could
Mm-mm.
do. You just don't disregard the
Yeah.
way she feels, because this is actively something that she has been feeling, and you can't blame her for having these feelings. But what you can do is you can actively tell her, okay, you know what, I am very sorry, I didn't know I was drunk, but I will try to do better, and I will try whatever it is you need, like, how can I help this situation, how can I help you feel better about this, because I feel very bad about it, something like that. I think with a lot of guys it's just about like disregarding the feelings. It's they don't understand that this is something that girls actively deal with, and so they're just like, okay, yeah, it's something that happens to girls all around. It's not something that happens to girls all around. It's something that we try to
Yeah.
avoid. But think about it, girls have had to think about what they wear, they've had to think about their safety, they've had to like double think about whether or not it's okay for me to walk out at night, whether or not I can do this, that, blah blah blah. Girls have had all these rules for
Mm.
so long. They've had all these rules for so long, and guys can't
Mm-mm.
even take 3 seconds to say sorry. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me.
Mm.
Like, you tell me not to wear a short skirt. You tell me not to. You tell me not to wear my short shorts or whatever the hell it is. I have to abide by so many rules just so your dick don't get hard, and that is ridiculous.
Mm.
Because think
Mm.
about it, how many rules do I have to
Yeah.
follow so that somebody doesn't have
Mm.
to do something?
You
That's
got to do things to change what you cannot control. Like, for example, their dick's getting hard, right? You have no control over that, and
exactly.
and it's not even yours to begin with. It's not your
Yeah.
responsibility, but you are held responsible for it, which is
Right.
fucking bullshit.
Yeah. Exactly.
Mm.
So it's like, whatever you can do to help the situation, try your best to be a gentleman about it, and also try your best to be an ally to the situation. When she is
Yeah.
saying something that is very clearly upsetting her,
let's
you know, sorry, go ahead, Pritu.
let's just switch the whole thing around. Was this okay when guys and girls take advantage over guys?
Mm-hmm.
That's known to be like also a traumatic thing for guys, but they also like they always frame it at a if this girl's taking advantage of you, why didn't you just go ahead with it? So
See,
it's like
trauma happens
I
to
just want to address the effect that when yeah
The
yeah,
guys
yeah
get that too. We share that experience as
right,
well.
right,
Mm.
and
mm-mm-mm.
and I understand that, guys, this happens to guys as well, right? It's just about being
Yeah.
honestly a decent human being. How can you be responsible, and
Mm.
how can you take responsibility of what you have done that has permanently added to this person's trauma? It's not about, I mean, the conversation obviously here is heavier on the guys because statistically girls have it more, right?
Mhm.
Now, I'm not saying that this kind of trauma doesn't happen to guys.
Mm-mm.
It does. It happens to guys, and we should honestly be more aware of the situation, and we should be more, human to this whole subject. The fact of the matter is that it happens to a lot of people, regardless of gender.
Mm.
And
L-
how can you
Let me
tell, you know?
let me just share this with you with what I've learned
Mhm.
over the years. So over the years, right, I've always hanged out with only a very small circle of friends, and this small circle of friends are people that I trust my life with. Now, because of my experience such as this, right, I've learned one thing, and it's very very important to me. If you can not have a heart to heart moment with one of your friends, one of your bros, they are not your real friends. If
Yes.
you can't even openly communicate and be vulnerable and have an open heart to heart conversation with your bro,
Mhm.
he is not your bro. He is not your friend. He's
Mhm.
not even your acquaintance. He
Mhm.
just have somebody you happen to know. He's not your friend. You
And
know
I
what I
mean,
mean?
I think also it has to do honestly with the way, or with the culture that has been assimilated into like Malaysian boys.
Mm-hmm.
It's about like, okay, I have to be macho, I have to be this, I have to be that. Like,
Macho man.
Yeah, it's the testosterone. Yeah, it's the testosterone plays a big level into
Yeah.
these kind of things.
I'll take
They
an
have to be a
artistic
macho, have to
killing.
be man. It's where the ego comes in.
yeah, but you can,
Yeah,
now that you know better, you can do better. The
Mm-hmm.
situation, the conversation is
yeah,
changing because people are starting to speak up. People are starting to say more. When you know better, you can do better.
Right.
And I think that is the biggest thing right now is
yeah,
that
that's true.
people don't understand that you can actually change these things. You can actually reach
Right.
out to somebody. Let's just say, Dom, you said you had a moment where you were like, okay, I have to think about whether or not I've hurt somebody actively in the past, right? If you feel at any point that you've done anything at all, you could still reach out to these people,
Yeah.
right?
Own up to it and
This
just
goes up to
apologize.
anybody. This honestly goes up to
Yeah,
anybody at all. It's about taking responsibility of what you've done and holding yourself accountable for what you've done. It's
Yep.
it's not it and honestly, it's like what Dom said too, about toxic masculinity. Um, if you can't have this conversation with your
mm,
bro and stuff like that, if you're saying that you let's just say
yeah,
as a guy, let's just say you as a guy got raped, or you as a guy got sexually abused, you can, if you tell this to your bros and they don't react sympathetically or with proper advice, or if they just laugh in your face, they're not your
They're not
bros.
your friends.
They're
Yeah,
not
they're not
yeah.
your friends.
Yeah,
So
it's
even like
This
the other
this
side,
is
like the
this
even
this is this is a message
the what
for
I wanted to
Malaysian
say like
guys out there.
uh
Knowledge is powerful, but knowledge without application is useless.
hmm,
If you know it and you don't do a thing about it, then it's fucking useless. You're not changing anything.
right.
Change doesn't just happen without
yeah,
application.
like I wanted to address the issue that when the okay there is a victim and there's a predator, and then the predator is like okay, for example, that one it likes girls in a certain way. They view girls in a certain way. Like how that develop in their brain. I've did some research and it shows like it's been developing by seeing a lot like imaginative things. Like for example, they watch a lot of rape porn. They want to know how it feels like. So it doesn't generates like it comes from a fetish kind of way first, but they want to feel how it goes, how it feels. But the way they have like projected it in their mind, it's totally different. Like that's when like you said, Dominic was stating like you need to talk to your friends about it. Like let's say like you have a weird like a porn addiction. You got to talk it out in that kind of way. That's also preventing rape in certain countries and all.
Mhm.
That's how you prevent rape. Like that's because we really need. Malaysia clearly don't have a institute or a place to treat these kind of people,
Mm.
or we have an education to treat these kind of people. So that's why people are going around like just going masturbating in front of girls and all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We need
Wait,
to.
here's the thing, right? I I thought of something in between while Prito was explaining. You know how these people they have this fantasy or this fetish for rape and all this kind of hardcore bullshit, right?
Right.
But have you ever seen someone with a foot fetish go out and rape feet? No, right?
Question.
Like there are some
What,
people who have a huh?
Yeah. No,
Right.
what were
Dom was
you saying? What you say?
Like there are a lot of people who have this like fantasy or fetish with rape and BDSM and all that, and then they always use that as a justification for their
Yeah.
actions. They use it as an excuse that I've normalized all this because these are my fetishes, and then like
Yeah.
I've allowed it to cloud my judgment, my better judgment, and everything. But
Mhm.
there are some people who have extreme feet fetish, but you don't see them going out and raping feet. You know
All
what I'm
they do
saying?
is buy pictures off the internet.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Oh, I mean, yeah, okay, they
Yeah.
just comment on your pictures and shit like that,
It's like,
right?
oh, nice feet.
Uh,
But it's actually a really good that's a really good point, honestly. Like
yeah.
it's it's about
Mm.
educating yourself and what you can do. It's I think a lot of people just think like, oh, it's too late, I can't do anything anymore. And it's not that's not the situation. That's never gonna be the situation. You can always
Yeah. What do you choose to do?
Mhm.
You always have
Yeah.
a choice. What do you choose to do at that time? There
Right,
is never a moment too late to change or too late to rectify a situation.
right. You can like and
Mm.
I mean I'm seeing all these accusations, and I'm seeing all these stories on Twitter, and I don't know if it's a trend, but the guys are not apologizing. Okay, the guys are not apologizing. Everybody's like, no, I didn't do it, I didn't do it, I didn't do it. This is something that the girl has
Yeah.
been struggling with for a very, very long time. Coming up and telling their story,
Mm.
that is not easy.
I
Not
can
easy.
I've thought like okay, so like recently we had this very famous case in Malaysia, right, regarding the sexual assaulting. And then like you said, right, they don't apologize. They just keep at it with this fucking bullshit and they never apologize and they just keep rolling on and beating around the bush around it, right?
Mm.
It's the almost the same thing with the George Floyd case. Do you know that?
Mhm.
Like there was the for 8 minutes and 46 seconds, this stupid fucking cop was on his neck, right? Was kneeling on his neck, on George's neck. And in that 8 minutes and 46 seconds, he had every time, every moment to get off his fucking neck, but he didn't. Why? Because he was on camera, because he was the subject of attention at the time. For that 8 minutes and 46 seconds, he was a subject of attention, and he did not want to admit he was wrong. He did not want to suffer the repercussions or the consequences of his actions to admit that he was wrong. And the moment he steps off his neck, he will have admit that he's wrong, and he will have caused the rest of his fucking stupid police force to accept the misconduct that the misconduct that they have performed. It is the same thing with these stupid fucking people. They go through that committed sexual assault or committed any form of sexual misconduct, and then they refuse to apologize. The moment you refuse to apologize, it is your downfall. You are digging a deeper hole for yourself. Just own up and fucking apologize, because the moment
Yeah,
you're subject of
that's true
attention,
also. Like uh yeah. One like guys should also realize like, you know what, just it's this trauma thing is sometimes too heavy for a girl. Just like stand up and just fucking apologize. And also girls also should realize that this the whole thing is not a trend. You should just simply throw off and should just come out for any reason, because this kind of things are really traumatizing for people, and guys need to realize that a simple sorry could go a really, really fucking long way. it could cure a traumatic experience that could carry on for a long time. Like
And I
having that much of testosterone doesn't mean you're a guy.
I think personally, the whole
Yeah,
trend,
yes.
the whole topic with the trend thing, I personally I don't look at it as a trend. I think of it as, okay, this girl is coming
Mm.
up. She has the courage, and therefore maybe I can do it, and maybe I will receive the same amount of support. And then another girl comes up with it, and she's looking at this as not a trend. I don't think most of the girls are looking at this as a trend. I personally think they're looking at it as, okay, these
It's,
are sisters now.
yeah,
Like these are people. Okay, this girl can
there
come
are
up.
some people just coming out. Like, yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
there are some people who were taking this as a trend.
it's obviously that's wrong. This is not about a trend. This is about coming up with your story, and it's honestly very hard to come up with traumatic stories. Like,
Yeah.
it's not something you bullshit every other day. It's something that you actually have to carefully like articulate and think and sit down and be like, okay, is this okay? Is this a reasonable means? You have to look at it and then read your trauma all over again, and then think about all the things that you've gone through, and you have to properly articulate your experience. And like, it's scary to think that this is actually a situation for a lot of girls. But look at Twitter. Look at Twitter right now. It's insane that there's so many
Yeah,
girls going through it.
The fact that some people say that they are lying, right? Like Shu, you were saying that some people think that they're lying, and then you have like vivid imagination, and then you're lying on this kind of shit, right? If you think about it, look at the greatest directors, out there, and look at the TV shows that you see in Netflix or whatever. Whenever there is a rape scene, right? For example, like I'm currently watching Vikings, right? Because Pritu introduced me Vikings, and there was a rape scene in one of the episodes within one of the seasons. So in that scene, it's very pretty fucking simple. It's very straightforward. And if the guy the woman is in the picture, and then he comes in and he decides to rape her, and then he proceeds to rape her. And in that particular episode, let me just clarify, he didn't actually go through with it, lah. But if you think about all the movies you've seen, all the series you've seen, rape for them, even with directors and stuff, it's very simple. Why? Because it's not something that even the person with the most vivid imagination cannot picture something, cannot uh, um visualize and conceptualize such a behavior even on screen.
Right.
Like, so when people come up with these stories and they're so damn detailed, they're telling the truth. It's not a lie. It's not some story. Even if you read it in some storybook, you will never capture the same amount of details that these people have captured, because they lived through those details moments by moments, because they went through it and they can remember it. It's seared into their brain.
Honestly, that's
also the fact like how they the like how media portrays rape, it means like it looks so normalized, it's so normalized in the society. So that's why for the fact that when a normal person look at it, at that rape scene, they will think that, hey, okay, this is normal. So it's part of where media, how you interpret media, that's coming from.
Mm-hmm.
So it's how it can, maybe the intention of the director could be different, but it's how you interpret it. It's differently. Like it's so normalized now. Like you see, like Dominic was mentioning the series Viking. Like in that era, people were raping each other because those were barbarian. They are doing barbaric nature. So you can't put that context into yourself because you are in a society where it's not okay to do those kind of situations because we are educated and we are not we are educated and all. So it's
They're more
the
civilized
fact
now.
that we are, yeah, we are more civilized. The fact that we normalizing rape is a really, or normalizing sexual harassment is it's a bad thing, but we should, like, you need to think twice. You always need to think, okay, is this right or not? You know,
It's
I
like
always have the
normalizing
second thought
oppression
of
or
like, hey, is
normalizing
this right?
systemic racism.
I mean,
Mm-mm-mm.
it's a huge conversation, but like I said, it's about educating yourself and knowing what you can do with the education that you have. It's like it with this whole thing, I feel like men are reading these tweets. It's not like you guys are escaping Twitter at this point, and if not,
Yeah.
you should honestly be looking into it. This is something that will actively affect you as a guy from now onwards, from dating, from courtship, from doing anything at all with the physical nature. You're looking at something that will actively affect you, and you should look into the conversation. You should educate yourself about these things. What can you do to be an ally instead of just standing there and ignoring what's happening around you in the world? It's because it affects you. If you're not going to do anything about it, then how are you helping the situation at all? You know?
Yeah.
The conversation has
Yeah.
to keep going. The conversation has to keep
Yeah.
going. Like these people who are on Twitter who are talking about their sexual abuse, I'm just gonna tell you, it's not easy. Not a lot of people have the courage to do that, and not a lot of people have the strength and to come up with that and to say that, and then to see, like from what I'm seeing, honestly, the trend is that the guys are not apologizing at all, and it's ridiculous. It's like you're not even apologizing for making her feel that way. You're not even apologizing for the slightest bit. You've made her feel that way, and she's have to live with that trauma for so long, and you don't even have 1 ounce of respect for her or yourself, honestly, to say, I'm sorry I've made you feel this way. I'm sorry I've put you in this situation. I'm sorry I did that and I didn't notice. I don't know something about it. You know, but nobody is saying sorry. I don't see any sorry at all. It's, oh, sorry, I didn't do it. I didn't do it at all. I didn't do it at all. This
Yeah.
person's lying. And that's terrible. I don't even see
Still lying.
one apology.
Yeah.
So like I want to talk like, okay, what happens if the guy apologized? Like, okay, for example, okay, he admits that he sexual harassed, he apologized, but people in the social media this era, they are keep on attacking him and bring him down. The fact that that's where I feel fine. That's why I drawn the line. Like, okay, you know what? This is wrong. He apologized. He have done this, but you don't have to bring him down. He admitted what he does and all, but that's why a lot of girls they are bringing him down. They are like they're making sure he doesn't have anything to live. So
I get what you
where
mean.
do
It's
you
like
draw the line? Until
when you
does he
believe or when you determine that an apology is not enough, right? Is that what you mean, like Pito?
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
like
typical.
how do you know is an apology is enough or not?
For me
If it's a
personally,
simple sorry is enough or not?
if you come up to me and talk to me, I don't care if it's a 7-hour conversation that we have to have. If you come up to me and you honestly tell me everything and you apologize properly, make your amends basically. For me, we have to have a conversation. For if in that nature, I would want a proper conversation about it. Like man up and talk to me. I think these girls have honestly the situations that I've seen. These girls are seeing these guys just live their life like nothing happened, and that builds. That builds. You're looking at them. You're seeing them on social media. You see people supporting them. You see people acknowledging them and supporting every single work they've done when they've done this so horrible thing to you, and you're like, how is that fair? How is that fair at all? And so when a guy comes to apologize and say all these things, have you apologized to her though? Have you actually said something to her, not to your Twitter feed? If it's just your Twitter feed, that has nothing to do with what she said. You're saying sorry because you don't want people to come and slice you on social media. That's what you're doing when you're apologizing on Twitter. Because if you've reached out to her, and she will definitely say something about it. If somebody, if I gain traction on social media for something of sexual assault nature, and if the guy came up and talked to me, I would personally address it on my Twitter. I would just be like, okay, actually, this person talked to me, right? But a lot of times I see this dude is just saying something on Twitter, and it's just so people don't go after them and say rapist. But have you actively sought her respect, her opinion? You know?
So you're saying that
What happened if the
obviously
girls just wants the guy to crash and burn and all like that?
Okay, wait. I didn't catch any of that from either both of you.
Pito, go ahead.
What happened if the girl like, after you apologize, what happened? The girl just wants you to see the guy crash and burn and like that. Just to let her girlfriends or whole Twitter army just destroys him.
But no, but
So,
serious,
and for
a
example,
judicial
if he
punishment
kills
is
himself,
necessary. Like, no, okay, killing, no. If you
mm,
socially pressure him to kill himself and stuff like that, then that's wrong, because you are in no means a judge and jury from behind a fucking
that's
desk,
what
or behind
I'm
a keyboard.
seeing in my eyes. In my eyes, that's what I'm seeing in Twitter. Like these
Mm,
girls are keep on going at him, making sure that he has nothing else. Like making sure that he has like whatever he's working his company, recognize that he rapes a girl, okay, fire him. Recognize whatever he has, they're taking everything off. And then like what happened if he goes into a suicide mode? Who is responsible for that? Or will they be actually happy like that? Like is there a right way properly to channel that kind of situation?
You have to
I,
understand the angst
mm,
behind the situation. The reason
mm,
because why this is happening is because look at how many girls can band together and how many girls can actually actively say, okay, you know what? They're angry and they're supposed to be angry. You know, is there a better way to do it? Maybe, but at the same time,
Mm.
this is the perfect outlet for them to release that kind of angst. Like they're they're looking at it and they're thinking, okay, this girl said something, so now I can say something, right? And I know you're saying, okay, if the people who are coming after him and asking him to kill himself, I don't condone cyberbullying. I don't
right.
I understand that that is wrong. What I'm saying is, do you want a company that has a rapist inside? Would you want it if you were a
Mm,
CEO of a company? If
true.
your employer comes and sexually harass somebody,
Mm.
what would you do? You know, there are sex offenders lists,
If it okay,
right? There are sex offenders lists, and people can get
if
put
it
on the sex
change
offenders
like
list. Sorry.
if he like properly goes to a proper like treatment or help himself or he change to a better person, like what then happen?
But that's what
What
happens
happens
when
then?
people are on the sexual offenders list. Like they are monitored for a specific period of time,
Mm.
and then
Yeah,
even more so once after that specific period of time, periodically they will still monitor them just to see their progress in as contributing to society, or their function in society,
Correct.
and their influence in their environment and their neighborhood. Because you have to understand, people can change, but then you also need empirical evidence to
yeah,
support that change, right?
to
So
know.
like, I think we're also forgetting that there are judicial punishments as well. Like, for
Mhm.
example, if you feel like a simple apology, even the most sincere apology was not enough,
Mhm.
like, don't take it as far as though voicing your opinions and then on the far right is cyberbullying. Never go so far as to cyberbully. You can voice your opinions, and you can state like what you feel and what you think of the current situation, but never cyberbully, because you're in no means doing anything better for that person, or the victim, or the peers around you. So what I think a person should be doing is have some integrity.
Mhm.
You can voice your opinions. You can suggest some better alternatives. But when the thing gets a little bit out of hand,
Mhm.
always rely back on the judicial system. Like there should be some sort of formal punishment for him to
I think
serve,
I
not
think
necessarily
actually,
death, but
yeah,
some sort of way for him to change.
that's actually a really good point. Honestly, judicial punishment, because
Mm,
for some girls it's not going to be enough.
Yeah,
Like for me, maybe a conversation is enough, but some girls,
yeah,
okay, but let's. I've never had to deal with something that has been so tragically traumatizing for me. Some girls have been raped actively every single day. They don't even want to talk to their abusers. They don't even want to touch their abusers. They don't even want
yeah,
to nothing to do with their
yeah.
abuser, right?
Mm-mm.
For me, I have a situation
Mm.
where if somebody reached out to me and said, okay, you know what, I'm so sorry I ever did this. If they reached out to me in that sense, I would be okay. But I
Mm.
I have that kind of situation. I'm talking about the girls who have been continuously sexually abused,
For
where they
rape
have
and all.
nothing, yeah, they want to have
Yeah,
nothing to do with their abusers. They want to have nothing to do at all with this disgusting human being that they cannot even, they don't want to think about them anymore. If you're in that situation, you
mm-mm,
know,
mm-mm.
then a judicial punishment is the only thing you.
Yeah.
mm.
But
Can
also,
you?
when
But
you
in
have
in
that,
Malaysia, I don't think we have those kind of jurisdictional kind of thing, right? In Malaysia,
then
we don't even have a sexual offender list
I
to
mean,
know who it is.
but
Yeah.
then think about that. If Malaysia doesn't have that, your best next option is for these people to get out, to go on social media and do these things.
Mm.
If Malaysia doesn't have that, then you have to solve the problem yourself.
Yeah, that's
And
why they're doing what they're doing.
exactly, you can't see these men have done it, and they're not living with the consequence of their actions. They're not taking responsibility for their actions at all. Why you're and your reaction is obviously to be angrier. Because you know that there's no judicial law against it. There's no judicial law to help you. So what do? You solve the problem the best way you know how to, right? And I exactly what Dom was saying.
But do you think like giving room? Do you think like giving room for them to actually like a small space for them to grow to be a better human? Do you like a small space for them to work their problems out?
Yes, but what is that space? There is no clear space to that.
Like
You know, there's no
Yeah,
clear
there's no
line.
formal approach to that.
Okay, and that is a whole law discussion. But like I said, there's no formal distinction. Like, okay, after you come out, I have to wait 30 days for this person to change. Then I go talk to his psychotherapist. Or
yeah.
there's nothing to do. That's the thing. The law doesn't protect you from that. What can you do in this instance that will help your situation? That will
Yeah.
help your trauma, alleviate your trauma, right? You're talking about how, okay, this is unfair to the person and stuff like that. I understand why you think cyberbullying is wrong. Like I said, I understand why you think that's wrong. And it is. Cyberbullying is wrong. But like I said, these are girls who have had trauma for so long. They have to take that courage to come out. And then a lot of people will hide behind this argument like, okay, what about the punishment? What is the further punishment for this? If judicial law doesn't come up, what can you do?
Right.
You know, it's
and even so that I feel that it is cyberbullying, but in her case, in her perspective, it may not be so as much as she's trying to cyberbully. She's just trying to get him to feel how she felt.
and I think that's
I
the
understand.
first thing too. Like, regard. Why is there such a big disregard for these feelings? It's not just feelings from having the trauma, it's just feelings of trauma itself. Like, the trauma already happened and you're already like, you're already having so much anxiety and so much, you keep thinking about it. And then here is the person who is just disregarding the entire thing. He's not even saying, oh my God, I did this to this girl. He's not even taking a second to recognize that that is an actual thing that she has felt. You know, what about that? And like, how would you characterize progress? You know,
Right.
you're saying, yeah, let's give this guy some space to heal and to learn and stuff like. Yes, you can do that. I understand you can do that, but with Malaysia and the way our judicial law is, how will you characterize progress? Right?
Yeah. And how effective will it be?
Correct. If you can actively tell me, let's just say I was in that situation and you really, really want to fix this, and you're just like, I am seeing a therapist. Here is my schedule for my therapist. Here are all the meds I am on. Here are all the things that I'm doing. Here is my letter of apology, whatever. If you are actively doing things and you can tell me all the things A to Z with proof, maybe I will believe you. But if you're not doing anything,
Can you imagine this conversation we're having on rape and sexual assault if we replace rape and sexual assault with racism? Instead of being a victim of rape, let's put into a scenario where the person is a victim of racism. Can we still apply the same conversation in the same approach to racism? Because it's almost it's like, I'm not saying it has the same impact, but if racism if rape is like a scar, racism should be like a blemish on the skin, right? It's not carrying the same deep impact, but there is an impact nonetheless. The duration of how it stays on that person is more or less the same, like a blemish on the skin and a scar on the skin.
it's also about how much, if we're going back to racism, you are talking about something that has affected a lineage, especially with African American societies here. This has affected a lineage. This
Right.
years of oppression, years of trauma, right?
Yeah.
This continuous trauma. you can't. There's no words for that. How can you continuously oppress and
Right.
continuously just, like I said, okay, think about Malaysia, right? When the Japanese came and tortured all our ancestors and all that.
Right.
Some grandmas
Yeah.
and some grandpas still don't like the Japanese, right?
Right.
Because of that exact.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can't blame them. You can't.
But think about this. So, okay, like what you're saying, right? I just want to hold on to that. So that you're saying is lineage, right? Now, imagine this. So racism has been going on. I mean, from for what Twitter is more centered about, what they care about more is for the past 400 years since this whole slavery acting to remove slavery, right? But the point is slavery, no, because racism and oppression towards black people have been going on far longer than that, and you don't even have to go and look into black people. You can go and look into Asians and all the Aborigines and around Asli in Malaysia.
Yeah.
Now, if you take that into the scenario, you consider that into scenario, you feel that okay, yes, then there is wrong, something needs to do, something needs to change about that. But if you think about it, rape is even in Greek mythology, even BC,
Yeah.
don't talk about AD. Rape and
But the
racism
thing is,
are hand in hand, even BC.
uh, you can't set an example for yourself. You can't compare yourself from this lineage to the other lineage because we are living in a two different kind of way. How they live and how we live is two different. So we can't compare our kind of habits to them. So like
Right, right.
they are in the
But
Greek
think about
mythology,
this
they
way,
are rape.
last time rape to them was an okay thing to do, but as we civilize and we go more modern, we realize that rape is wrong, and we are shunned against it. Racism, the same thing, but here it is happening again and again and again, like concurrently since the ages of time. No change has done. So the point is, when this conversation is out, when the people are now currently talking about it, if you don't do something about it now, he's gonna keep talking for the rest until the end of days. The whole point is like for anybody who's out there and anybody is listening, right? If you have a chance to make a move, if you have a chance to do something about it, fucking do it. It's now or never. You know what I mean? Like if even if it's just sharing or signing petitions or
But you got to
donating
think
just
about
13 ringgit.
you got to think in a other perspective. Or it's not easy to come out or just like share it, because of all. Imagine a person is very insecure about a certain kind of thing. The person is not going to like just what I'm going to come out because that traumatic experience has been in her mind. Like what that statement of what if is very like deeply implanted into them where like what if I come out and no one helps me, or what if I come out that guy who raped me or the guy who sexually harassed me, he will come after me. So it's
But
not easy to suddenly just come
they
out.
won't
Like
necessarily
it's
know that
really
if they don't come out in the first place.
yeah, we all know, but it's not as a girl, like not as a girl, Pula, as I've seen a lot of people that my friends and all like as their point of view, it's not really easy to like just blurt these kind of things out because these things are really really personal to them, and then it's like a big scar imploding into them. So like like I wanted you to experience like explain the whole traumatic like how as a girl it's not easy to come out. But
Right.
now, like as a fact, we have social media, Twitter, we have all this community. It's fucking good where we have this community where it's really easy for a girl to come out where this whole group of support. But it gets toxic at one point where all the girls coming together for the wrong reason.
Right. But
I
and I totally get that. But
I
like I think if victims of oppression for long time oppression can come out, victims of rape should be able to as well. Gather the courage to do so.
why
Because
do
if
you
you
think?
don't come out,
Yeah. So where is your line of toxic? Where do you draw the line at what's toxic, Ritu?
Yeah. So just now when I was mentioning, where do we draw the line of cyberbullying and all? So when you bully a person to at one point, that has no correlation to the whole problem. it brings up to a whole new different topic only. The fact that you are bringing it to a whole new different topic, that is the line where the toxic comes out. I really believe that all these kind of people should be there to support this girl, because it's not really easy to come out as a girl, and you should always like let the public know, like, okay, this guy has done this to this girl. And the fact that they're opening a whole new bubble, that's when the whole thing goes really out of mess like that. So that's
Like
where I
they
feel
want to
about
do other
when
things,
when
like
it
they're
get
bringing up
toxic,
other things besides the rape.
Yeah.
That's what you mean, right? Mm.
I mean, like I said, it's hard to come up with the trauma. Honestly, like if I had to explain trauma, that
Mm-mm.
it's very
It's not
hard.
easy to quantify that. I
Yeah,
think.
you can't quantify trauma. I think it just stays with you for a very long time until you're ready to talk about it. Like it's so weird that we have to live with it too. It's like at some point of your life, you're gonna
Mm-mm.
want to tell somebody about it, that this has happened to you. You know,
Yeah.
especially if somebody like the ones that I've seen on Twitter. These are people who are big on Twitter, at least. You know, these are people who have
Mm-mm.
lots of attention and stuff like that. Of course, you want something in retribution.
Yeah.
I think it's only fair you want something in retribution, but you can control what you do. You cannot control what other people do. If all these other girls are coming on and cyberbullying them and
Mm-mm.
stuff
Yeah,
like
that's
that,
true.
I understand that. I understand that happens in a community, but at the same time, you cannot control what these people do. You cannot control
Right.
them.
Yeah.
These girls are also
Mm-mm.
angry. I understand. Maybe they've had that same situation and they're like, they can't come up with their own abusive story, so they think helping this one girl will help the situation. But you cannot control what the
Mm-mm.
person does. You can control what you do. And I think
Yeah.
like let's just say you come out with your story. 5,000 people reply to you, and 5,000 replies are wonderful. They're like, I'm so sorry you've had to go through this. I'm so
Yeah.
sorry. I am in support of you. But then there's 100 people who are going after this man and on a whole completely unrelated topic and cyberbullying him, saying to kill himself and stuff like that. You have 5,000 people who are supporting you and 100 bad apples. How can you control what all 100 bad apples are doing?
Mm-mm.
You're not in charge of them. You're coming up with
Yeah.
your own story. How are you responsible for their response to it?
Mm.
Good point.
Yeah.
I
Mm-mm.
don't know.
So like I want to ask, like, as in a girl's perspective, like when a girl opens up to you, how do you handle the situation? Because
Yeah.
us guys, we
How
don't
do
know how to handle situations like this. Like, how
I
do you handle when a girl
yeah.
comes and say, "Hey, I've been sexually harassed and
mm,
I've been raped." How do you handle the situation? Like,
I
I know a lot of guys doesn't know how to handle the situation.
Mm-hmm.
I think when it comes to that, honestly, first of all, don't disregard what they feel. Just say, I'm so sorry you had to go through that. Like your first step is to always acknowledge how this person feels. Because coming up and telling somebody about a story of sexual abuse is not easy. It is something you really will struggle with, and you'll have to find it in your heart to come up and tell somebody about these things. So first of all, acknowledge it. And then second of all, ask how can you help? Let's just say you're dating this person and she just told you her story of sexual abuse. Tell her,
Mm.
okay, but will you be okay if we do this? Will you be okay if we do that? I don't want to do
Yeah.
anything to harm you, and I don't want I don't want to make you feel even worse than it is. So tell me how I can help.
Mm-mm.
Actively ask for all these actively ask all these questions so that she will feel more comfortable to you. You can ask her, how can I help? If she says, just listen to me talk, just don't, maybe she has a trauma thing against
Mm.
touching her arm or something like that. Maybe her trigger is her arm. Don't touch her arm.
Yeah. Mm-mm.
You can ask her because at
Mm-mm.
the end of the day, she is the
Mm-mm.
center of where this abuse is happening. If you can acknowledge how
Mm.
she feels and you can acknowledge what triggers her and you can acknowledge all these things and be careful around it, then you're good. Right? Because like I said, this is about abuse, and maybe you don't know how to deal with it, but maybe she might not know the best of it either, but she knows exactly what triggers her. She probably will know, some things like, okay, maybe what color triggers her or whatever, I don't know, I'm not sure, Anything could trigger
Yeah.
anyone. So ask her, what you can do in this.
How do you help?
How do you what? Sorry.
How do you help a girl go through? How do you help a girl go through the situation? Like just like for try making her not to remember that situation, or just
I mean,
forget about, like, try to like distract a girl out of that
Not
situation,
distract. I think you're trying to say, how do you
because you
comfort
don't
a
want her to
girl
remember the,
if she's gone through something this traumatic?
yeah,
when
because you don't want her to remember the situation of, or remember the image of her getting sexually harassed or raped. So how do you like avoid all of that?
Maybe it's not so much as don't let her remember it. Just maybe try to help her live with it. But honestly, it's difficult for a person to live with that sort of trauma.
Live
But
with it.
at some point, you have to come to terms with it and have to do your very best and put in some effort to live with it. And
Accept it.
obviously, confronting your the rapist or the guy who performed the sexual assault will help. But even after so, there are some people who like have trouble, even like living through it once they come out, because they already lived through that trauma.
I think
Yeah.
that's a very hard conversation to have with anybody at all. Like
Right.
you can,
Mhm.
like I said, you can actively ask, right? You can always actively ask what you can do to help somebody go.
Oh yeah. Okay.
You can always
That's a good
actively ask,
example.
but it's hard because, for one, she doesn't want to think about it just as much as you don't want to think about it as well. Like, but you have to actively
Yeah.
realize, okay, this is
Right.
what she's gone through. This is the trauma that
Think
she
about
had, But
Don't assume what she needs. Ask her what she needs.
exactly. But just think about it. She doesn't want to live through it just as much as any other girl. She doesn't want to think about this trauma at all, right? But it happens. It happens because that's what traumatic incidents do to you. You start thinking about these things and you can't get them out of your head because it's traumatic. You're continuously thinking about it. And for one, I don't personally have an answer to how you can distract somebody of their trauma, because even with the dude who was masturbating in his car, I thought about that shit for like 6 days, and I had to like strategize how to go back home.
Mhm. Yeah.
6 days after. And I mean, obviously I can
Yeah.
speak about it right now, but think about people who have gone through even harder traumatic experiences. They don't want to think about it. They don't. You can distract them maybe, but there's no one clear-cut way to distract the person. It's about how you can communicate to them.
So it's just inbred into them for a long time, lah.
Right. And I mean, you can always ask them how you can help with it. Like, don't assume that, okay, let's just say you want to get her mind off it. You're like, okay, let's take this girl bowling every single day. Every day I will take her bowling until she forgets her trauma is gone. That's not the answer.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
what she needs. You're really going to bowl the fuck out of her trauma? Like, no, like, it's not, like, it's what she
Yeah.
needs. And if she cannot tell you, give her space.
So the girl should accept it, is it? The girl should
Are you
accept
asking
it,
her to
is it?
accept
When it comes to her
sexual
perspective.
abuse? Like,
No,
well,
I think what Pito means is that
Mm.
like at some point you have to come to terms with it, that it did happen to you, and
Yes.
Yeah,
although
come to terms and accept.
difficult,
Yeah.
okay.
yeah, although it is difficult to live, you may not think that you can continue your life by living through it, but
Yeah.
the reality is that you can, and you will.
Yes. Okay. I think, okay, with that, in a sense, how do I phrase this? When it comes to that, like I said, not everybody will know how to deal with it. You also,
Right.
you probably don't even know how to deal with it as
Yeah,
well. She may not either.
Mm.
And that is completely
Yeah.
okay. Just
Yeah.
reassure her. Tell her, you know what? Maybe right now you don't know that. Maybe you don't know how to deal with it. I don't know how to deal with it either. But if you need anything, if I can do anything at all, let me know and I will do my very best to help aid you. Because at some point, you do have to understand, okay, this happened to me and now I must find a way to live with the trauma in a sense, but also to come to acceptance that, okay, I am stronger than this trauma, just this traumatic experience, and I can live through this. But you as a friend, just as a friend, not even as a boyfriend, just as a friend, how can you help your girlfriends, your friends who are girls, how can you help these girls get through that? You can always ask, because sometimes she probably doesn't know. Honestly, when you're so traumatized out of your ass, like you don't know. You don't know if a cup of Milo will make you better. You
Yeah.
don't know if talking it out will make you better. You don't know half of the things because you don't know. The trauma is it's eating you,
Mm-hmm.
and that's just, it's sad because that's a reality for so many girls that we actually have to do that. We have to think, okay, what will make me feel better? Sometimes you don't have the answer for that, and that's completely fine. But you as a friend,
Yeah.
what can you do? The
And
only
also, like, I feel like when it comes to
Mhm.
those kind of perspective, like when girls like, it's not it's a very bad thing to bottle up their traumatic experience into them. Like a lot of Malaysian, like a lot of my friends, for example, like they have been bottling up into that and then resulting into cutting their hands and all, because they have no one to talk, they have no proper channel to go to. And then like, in especially in this Asian culture, like seeing a psychologist thinks that it means like something's wrong with them. Like we have Malaysian or Asian people should take that out of their mind. If you feel trouble or you feel something wrong, it's all right to see a psychologist if you can't talk to your friends, because they have better way of handling situations like this. So like those are the things that I want to really address as well. Like it's okay to see a psychologist, because a lot of my friends, if they see a psychologist, they think something's wrong with them. It's a really bad thing to have, but the best way to see is seeing a psychologist would help a lot. They wouldn't properly know how to channel it into
Yeah,
a more positive mindset,
and I
positive
mean
way and all.
there are also
So
other
like
outlets.
in a yeah.
You can always call the befrienders. The befrienders are always, there's a
Oh
hotline.
yeah,
You can always call the befrienders. You can talk to them.
defender scale.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, we
But
have.
Yeah.
you know what? I think it's fantastic that when you ask a girl, even if a girl who has never encountered any friends who have been victim of sexual trauma,
Mhm.
or any in any case, so you just ask a girl, how do you help your fellow girls? They will always try to think of a way, right? They will always band together. If you ask me, I wouldn't know, you know. If you ask a guy, right, who just say, okay, I'll keep my friend accountable. But
Mhm.
what if your friend doesn't want to be held accountable? What if he just like, no, dude, I didn't do anything wrong lah. I will never admit it lah and shit like that. You know, the guy will say, he'll just say, then fuck you lah, fuck you lah. He'll just
So then, do you
whatever.
want to be associated with somebody like that, though? Do
Yeah,
you
that's the point. Like, they're just like, fuck you.
Yeah.
I don't want, just ciao. I don't
I
want
mean,
to, I'm not your friend. You know what I
you
mean?
can hold your friends accountable. That is your first step as a friend.
Mm-hmm.
If I saw any of you two
Mm-mm.
doing something wrong, you bet your ass I will call you out on it. But the
Mm-hmm.
thing is, what you do after I
Yeah.
call you out on it is completely up to you, right? Like,
It's up to you.
and
Yeah.
honestly, I give an X amount of tries before I give up on somebody. Like for me as a friend, it really hurts me when I see my friends do something crazy, batshit crazy, and if I've called them out on something and they still do not want to change, I I have to accept at one point that I've done my job as a I've done my job as a friend. But if you're not going to do anything to change it, what the hell can I do to help you anymore? Because I cannot change you just based
Mm.
off what I hold you accountable for. Like for me, I think once like I see a friend
Yeah.
who's taken my advice, like okay, let's talk about something that Malaysians, you know, we're not educated enough about, saying the N word, right?
Mm-hmm.
In Malaysia, honestly, before I came
Okay.
to America, I did not know how bad it was to say the word. Like I personally did not know until I came here, and one of my
Okay.
friends, her boyfriend is African, and the community that I hung out when I first came out here were African people, and I didn't know how bad the word was to them until I was like, oh okay, wait, shit, this this word is, it's not in my place to say it at all. It's not, and it hurts them when I say it. And how can I actively change what I
What
do?
happened if you actually say the word?
Bad things will happen. I know some people who will be aggressive maybe some people might call you out nicer. Some people will be like, okay, I don't think that's your word to say. Some people, like I said, it might be an aggressive reaction. It might not be. It might just be a quick like, listen, bro, that's not cool of you to say at all. But for me, luckily for me,
Yeah.
I talked to my friend whose boyfriend was African. I talked to her about it, and she was like, babe, no, not at all. Not even one time, not even by accident, not even anything at all. Just no. And you know, it's something that you have to actively think about too, right? Like Malaysian people, I think we don't have enough education about the topic as well. Because we hear it on music, right? We hear it in rap songs and we hear it in all this, and we're like,
Yeah.
oh, that should be okay. I don't think we even do you guys censor the word there? No, right? On radio?
I
No.
think so.
No?
Yeah, on
We
radio,
do.
yes. On radio, yes.
Okay.
On radio, yes.
Ah,
On radio, yes.
because I remember a time where the N-word was not censored in the radio. I remember a time where it was just like you could just say it. So I think remember there's one time Za came to Good Vibes. She came to Good Vibes and everybody was singing along to her song and saying the N-word. And she was like very, very upset. And then these Malaysians were going after her instead, saying like, "Why you upset? Your song has the N-word anyway." And that's not the right response. We have to take ourselves accountable for these things, right? We have to realize, okay, wait, that's not a word I can say. That's not a
Like
word.
I remember one thing. So in doing Kendrick Lamar's concert in the States, so the whole stadium was packed with. It was mostly white people there, and then so Kendrick has this part segment where he invites this audience to rap over his songs or rap with them and all. So they were singing backseat freestyle. So the first part of the song, he will say the N word. So at one point the white woman told the N word, and she kept on going on it, and then he just stopped the whole concert and tell like, yo, okay, it's not cool. It's not cool saying the N word. It's like it's your responsibility to not to say the N word. But then when the whole song played, when he performed the whole song together, the whole stadium was saying the N word, and the whole stadium was white people. Like 80% of them white people.
Yeah.
So it's like I feel like it's also like it's a really easy platform. Music is a very easy platform to say N word, but like you say, like people don't have the education on telling that yo, it's
And
bad.
honestly, there's a lot
And
of
all. It's normal to them.
I don't want to specifically call out names here, but there's a lot of people in the Malaysian music industry who use the word very freely and without any accountability to it at all. And if I personally will only call somebody out if they are a close friend of mine. If you're not a close friend of mine, that's your burden to bear, honestly. I think maybe I should be actively going after these people or whatever, but at the same time, like I feel some people are saying it and then nobody is saying anything to them about it, and then you see the support that they get and you're just like, okay.
But seeing as your boyfriend is black, right? He's African American. Were you given permission to say the N-word?
No, I am not. And I think it doesn't matter if he is black. My boyfriend is black, and it's not my predisposition because I am not black at all.
Your place. It's not your place to say it.
It's not my place to say it. It's not. And even if one day, if we get married and we have babies and stuff like that, I don't know specifically how to educate them about it. I would have to let my boyfriend do it. I don't want them to get into trouble. Of course.
So is there a such thing where the black community gives like to say white people or the N-word pass? Is there a such thing?
No.
Of that, like you can say the N-word. It's not a thing lah.
Honestly, the friend that I met, like, was it last night, I think, or the night before last night lah. He was telling me that he has a few black friends, and they gave him permission to say the N-word because they were really close. Yeah.
Maybe it's situational. I personally just don't want to say it because it's not my. It's not
right.
To say it. Like when I was in Malaysia, honestly, I have used it a few times when I was in Malaysia, and none of my friends called me out on it. Nobody called me out on it. Like one of my friends just said, I'm uncomfortable with the word. And I never used it again. I never used it around him anymore because he was uncomfortable with me saying it. But I never knew why it was bad until I came here and my friend was like, okay, listen, no, that's not, is not for you to say.
But like an example, like do the cops use there a lot the word the N
I've
word a
never
lot?
seen them
The
use
white
it.
cops
I have
to
never,
address a black person.
I have never seen somebody use that against.
Oh, I have never seen.
I've never seen it before, but I'm sure it happens here and there around the whole place. It's a word that I think people don't think of it easy. But like look at Malaysia as well. We have a lot of that as well. Jako and Sakai, like sorry. But like
Yeah.
all these things, these are derogatory terms. You know? Even for Indians,
Mm-mm.
we have the K term,
Yeah.
you know. It's not something we should say, and yet
Yeah.
it's not something I think a lot of people also don't understand. Hey, where's Dom? Dom!
Yeah. I
Um,
don't know. He just left. I
oh,
think his battery died or something.
yeah. But
Yeah. You're saying?
it's something that should be actively addressed because these are derogatory terms that will
Mm-mm-mm.
shape our future as well, right? We are one generation against it.
Mm.
The next generation that we can educate on it will be better.
Yeah.
We can do better, so our next generation will do better. 100 years ago, this was maybe
But do
acceptable.
you think like the yeah?
I mean, I'm
Mm-mm-mm-mm.
saying like
Do
last
you
time,
think like the Asian country will actually?
um,
Do you think the Asian country will actually like get used to the education of or getting in fact getting the education on doing this kind of using these kind of terms and all?
I think we need more education. That's for sure. We definitely need more education
Mm-mm.
on the word, on the topic, on to why this is not acceptable.
Hmm.
But it's going to be a really long way before any Asian country honestly knows about this, especially in places where like they don't already have normal education. How can they be educated on these things that you
Yeah.
know are I don't like I said, I think it's going to be a long time before all these like third world countries or any Southeast Asian countries that need more education. It's going to take some time, but it's not like we cannot educate them about it. I'm pretty sure if you went you
Yeah,
know,
that's true.
like if you met somebody from, let's just say, the Philippines, right? If you met somebody from there and you thought, okay, and you heard them say the K word for Indians, right? You can tell them that they did something wrong, and I'm sure if they're reasonable human
Mm-mm.
beings, they would say, okay, you know what, I
But also like in like in my opinion, like when it comes to the like in the Asian community, the Asian countries and all, the first thing they how they got exposed to N words are music.
Mhm.
So they at one point they are listening to music and every black music they have to stay the lyrics will be consist of the N word and all. So they probably think it's probably normal
I
for
know,
a person to say
and
N word, but they don't know that it's actually going back to slavery and all like
like
that.
I said, it's something that I wasn't actively aware about, but that was something that I had to recognize and be like, okay, that's it's not right. You shouldn't be saying these things. And I have to actively tell
Yeah.
myself these things because I was conditioned to that as well. I've heard all these rap music and rap songs, and they've said the N word so many times that I was like, okay, if they can, if they can sing it in
Yeah.
a song, then I don't understand. But I had to make myself understand. I had to make myself, or educate myself onto why this is bad and why I shouldn't say it, and say, and even if it's in a song, like sometimes at one point I think I was around my friends and the song had the N-word in it and I accidentally said it and I felt shitty, dude. I was like, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry,
Yeah.
I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. um
Yeah.
but like I said, it's
Mm-mm-mm-mm.
something you can educate yourself on. If it's something you can educate yourself on, it's something you can definitely change. And I think that's one thing that Asian countries don't have.
Yeah, it's actually a good thing where okay, it's not a good thing. It's the even the riots in the US right now. What's happening now?
Mhm.
People are opening eyes now to this the whole thing where, actually like this the whole black people are living in the black people living in the United States are they're getting treated like shit.
Mhm.
And now is the time we are actually realizing like, oh, they're not living normally like how they are supposed to live
Mhm.
like that. And now the whole it's a good thing where the whole world's actually starting to educate themselves about this kind of situation and all. So it's like I wanted to ask, like, going back to the whole topic, like how, wait, okay,
Mhm.
like
Sorry, guys.
how,
Yes.
for example, like how is the writing going on there and all?
Very peaceful where I live. It got violent at one point. I think people started getting a little. Um, for the most part, in my area, it has been pretty peaceful. Like, um, I think on a Sunday night, it got kind of violent, but the next day, everybody came back to the protest ground, started cleaning the place, and there's been it's been pretty supportive where I live. But I know I am not as I mean, I have I'm fortunate enough to live in an area where the protests have been very peaceful. There have been many places where the protests have not been peaceful, and I understand why. There's just a lot of hurt there. There's a lot of hurt. I feel like if our
Yeah,
if our grandparents could have protested against the Japanese and not get tortured at the time, they
yeah,
probably would have as well. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like how can they not like it's so much hurt and so much pain and so much anguish. How can you not want to protest against that? This is and I think it's also a good thing in a sense that like some people who aren't black are noticing that. Like in the Asian community, we have a thing against people who are darker skinned. Like I grew up and I wasn't as fair as the
mm-mm,
normal Chinese. And I used to get shit for that. Like I used to
mm-mm,
get a lot of flag for that because they were
yeah.
like, why don't you look like Fan Bingbing? Okay, who is white as snow. Okay. Um
Yeah.
and and I was always just like, okay, but why is this an issue? I was like born like this, you know. Does it make me look any less Chinese than I do? It's just that I have tan skin, and then I come to America and people want to be tan, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, it's
Mm-mm,
like
mm-mm.
I, it's a non-issue that has become an issue. I think that's the big deal about this. It's a non-issue that has become an issue because why is color of skin at any point a base for an argument that should not even be there? You know, how is darker skin any point of an argument? I personally don't understand it. Like I don't understand it at all. I
Mm-mm,
see
mm-mm.
I see
Yeah, even it's the same thing where I was going to when we were in school. So basically, I grew up in a very Chinese community. So
mm,
like you see, like most of my friends are Chinese, and then
mm.
when I go to like school, like the people associate me as a gangster because of my skin color. Like, don't go near him. He smells.
Tell
He's a
them,
gangster. And
tell them go
it's
to the selling street where all the
yeah,
gangsters are Chinese. Like I
yeah.
said,
Like I was it. I was telling.
yeah, go ahead. Sorry, my God.
Yeah, like I was telling earlier. Like was this like wow, the 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 girl I was dating, the Chinese girl, the mother is really like the most typical of all typical Chinese mothers. She gets up at 11, have a breakfast. She go play mahjong with her Chinese the aunties all lah. So it's so like then she always tells like she doesn't like her hanging out with me because I'm Indian.
Mm.
I might beat her up and all, or I might steal her money and that kind of stuff. So and then every time like at night, where we'll park her car, my car in front of her house every time we go out, and then we come and we park. So and then we'll just have a conversation and just talk in the car because we just like doing that. And then she asked me not to park right in front of her house because
Yeah.
the mother might see us. Then she told, you can't see us. What, you can't see us? Then she told, you're dark, therefore she can't see you. She knows you're Indian, so don't
Oh
park
my
the car. Don't
god.
park my car right in front of my house.
I
So
feel
that
like
one it was
I know
like
this.
at one point
Like
like
you mentioned
oh
this last time, right?
yeah. So at one
Oh.
yeah. So at one point I was like, what the hell? But then I realized at one point I made it into my mission to get accept to make mothers change the perspective to change the perspective for Indian people. So I started being nicer to the mother rather than I started paying more attention to the mother than the girl I
The
was dating.
girl.
So I started like, and then at one point, yeah. So at
I
one point, she actually
yeah.
liked me for who am I, but then that's when we just broke things off. And apparently she at one point she kept on asking about me. So
Uh-huh.
it's just the perspective of a person where how it was imprinted for the last generation
Like
and
I
all.
said, we
Like
we
it
have
sucks how America's
we have the better
it
opportunity.
sucks how America has the whole going on thing.
We have
Yeah.
the opportunity to do better. I think that's the main difference between our generation and our parents' generation is that we have the opportunity and the education to be better for our generation. And it's about what we can do. Like Pritu, your base instinct was okay, I have to be nicer to the mom so that she can understand that I am actually not this scary
Mm-mm.
or whatever, you know? You can't, that's the way that you change. You start looking at yourself and you're thinking, okay, what can I do as a
Yeah.
person to relieve this situation, right? Like you could have gone a whole other way, okay? In a whole different parallel
Mm-mm.
universe, you could have just said,
Yeah.
Aya, auntie, I don't care about you. I'm going to bring my parang
Yeah.
tomorrow and I'm going to start cutting things
Yeah.
around the house. You could have gone a whole different
Uh,
direction on the whole thing, right? But you didn't. And
Mm.
that's what makes you different from the
mm-mm.
next generation or something else. You decided to show her, okay, you know what? What if I decided to be kind instead? What if I decided to just show this girl, this lady, this auntie, oh, you know what? I can be nice. If you see that I'm nice, maybe you'll understand. And if
Yeah.
you don't understand by you being nice,
But
then
that's
you cannot
the
time.
yeah.
Like if auntie cannot
Yeah,
see,
that's the whole opposite things happening in the states as well. Like those people with power actually has power to do something about it. Imagine that's how that, and then they dislike a certain color of them, and they do something about it
Mhm.
instead of being nice. So that's why how George Floyd and all the policemen were being racist, because they have admitted they don't like a certain color of them, and that's why they are doing that this kind of thing. Like even during the protests, I've been reading a lot of things. During the protest period, the cops are actually starting to, like, the killings are actually going on. Like people are getting arrested for no reason as well. So you can say there are some good cop and there are some bad cops, but that's a really stupid reason to give, because you can't have a certain good thing and certain bad thing in cops. Like for example, you can't have when you can't have a good pilot and a bad pilot. You
Mhm.
get what I'm
Right.
saying?
Yeah.
And I
Like you
think
can't
that's
have, you need to
very
be full of good
right.
things.
I think
Was
uh,
that?
the one thing that they were
Yeah.
trying to point out too was that people love firemen here. Like nobody
Mhm.
hates the firemen. Like we love firemen because their first instinct is to help. You
Mhm.
know, and I think
Yeah.
with
Yeah, it's a fireman, yeah.
mhm. And I think with cops and everything,
Yeah.
I don't know. I personally I think maybe they have to go through more school or something. You know, maybe they have to take a human psychology
So
class.
apparently it's really easy to get to be a cop.
I think it's like
It's really easy to
7 months
be a cop
training.
in the States.
I think
It's
it's like
really easy.
I'm
A
not sure.
thousand hours. That's all it takes.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. So I mean, you
Yeah.
wouldn't let me be a chemist if I didn't take 4 years of school. You wouldn't let me be a chemist if I didn't do all the work and I didn't study.
Yeah.
I didn't all do all that shit. Why is it any the same as for any other
Mm-mm.
occupation, especially if you're gonna be a cop? You know, like
That's right.
maybe they just need
Yeah.
more education. Maybe that's the base of the problem. They don't have
Mm-mm.
enough education about the topic. And I mean, I honestly hope and I want obviously for a better system, for cops and everything. And I'm sure in Malaysia we've had our fair share of it. Like it's not just happening in America, cops wise. I mean, like in Malaysia there are a lot of cops who are creepy as fuck as well. Okay,
Yep.
very creepy. How many
Yeah, they
how
have
many
a lot. Yeah.
how many times have I just rode in a car? Just my friends are sending me to some place and they're Indian. How many times have we been pulled over at a roadblock just because my friends are Indians?
I kid you
Yeah.
not. Pritu and
Mm-mm.
Mugen. So Mugen was in Pritu's previous shows about psychedelics. If you haven't seen it, please go and watch, and then you know who I'm talking about. So Mugen and Pritu and I were three of us were in a car. We're in Pritu's car.
Mhm.
So we were going back home. We were dropping Mugen off back home.
Yeah.
And I kid you not, three cops on three motorcycles were patrolling the area. And as our car was going down and about to turn into Mugin's house, right, we were stopped by the cops, and we weren't just asked to stop, and weren't they didn't just stop us to ask questions. They asked us to get our car, and then they searched the car and they body searched us.
Mm.
And the only reason, and they did this blatantly, they did this outright, explicitly. They just told, well, there's two Indian fellas in the car and there's one Chinese, so obviously we have to take note of that and search you guys down.
That's ridiculous.
And the fact that they said this out
Yeah, even
loud,
this, yeah, it is, yeah.
mm,
Horrible. It's
It's
sad.
crazy. Even the same thing where I was going through a roadblock as well. Like I was having, but that girl I was dating as well. The weird thing is this: the cops thought she was a prostitute because, in his mind, how can an Indian guy have a Chinese girlfriend? So he literally asked the girl, "Which area are you from?"
Mhm.
When looking at me. So and then we were stunned because we don't know what to answer. We were like,
right.
we gave the IC. Then she told that she's Malaysian, and then we were going to the house, like going back to home, like. Then he was like, oh, this is something I don't see every day. But then the fact that he asked a question, it shows how uneducated or like he doesn't fit to be a police at that time because he hasn't seen a lot of things that's supposed to be seen and all.
Mhm.
That what was going on in my thing lah.
Not just being a cop, lah. He wasn't fit to be a Malaysian, lah. Like what? The Indian fellas can't get together with Chinese
Yeah,
fellas. Chinese fellas can't get together with Malay fellas. Malay fellas can't get together with Indian fellas or Chinese fellas. It makes no sense.
It's the racism that has been, like I said, Malaysians are blatantly racist,
Yeah.
unapologetically either.
Mm-hmm. That's
That
that's the keyword right there. Unapologetically racist.
and I think that, like,
yeah,
I think it's one thing that I've also had to like sit down and like self-reflect on, just because I was like, okay, Malaysia has a slight issue with racism, and it's not even slight. It's something that has been so
yeah.
obvious.
Yeah.
It's
Even I saw the one. I remember seeing in Complex on Instagram. There was so the a black mom and her child was just walking to the park lah. And then the cops came, and a woman cop and a guy cop, just a normal. They weren't going towards her, but they were just going around the vicinity. The kid immediately saw the cop and just automatically reflex to put up her hand. It's a 5-year-old kid doing this.
yeah,
Just immediately and started crying and telling, please don't hurt us. So and then the woman cop came towards her and, like, in a very apologetical manner, and telling, you don't have to worry, like, it's this, like, just imagine having those kind of reflexes, or just when you see a cop you put up your hand.
yeah,
Like, just imagine that, growing up thinking, like, you know what, you are living in those kinds. That's what Malaysian people don't realize as well. Like, after hearing all the story, reading so many stories, these stories, all, they don't realize how much it affects them on living that kind of traumatic experience. Or just once you see a blue light, you gotta put up your hand.
yeah,
They are in a country where they are in a citizenship where they should be treated equally as the white people, but they don't realize that even though they are citizenship, they have this traumatical experience on doing this. They
yeah,
can't be treated this way. That's why a lot of people, they are not seeing the real picture. They just see the overview of things and all.
yeah. I mean, it's a big issue, and I feel like as long as we keep educating ourselves and we keep educating the people around us, we can obviously make a difference in that way. I think, like I said, everything begins with education. How can you educate yourself, the people around you, and how can you hold them accountable for the things that they've done? You know,
Mhm.
it's just a conversation starter, and you have to
Like,
keep.
was it Dave Chappelle? I just watched his 30 minutes show. Like, he addressed that issue
Mhm.
on all these matters so well. The fact that did you see it?
Mm-mm. No, I haven't.
No, he did it so
Yeah.
eloquently.
So the fact
He,
that,
he
yeah,
articulated
he
every
did it in a
case
way
and its
that,
impact.
yeah.
Mhm.
So the part where he was telling, like, okay, like in Malaysia, so all these Twitter people are coming out to influencers. They're coming out to, why aren't you not talking about this, and why are you talking about that? In the same thing where Dave Chappelle actually addressed that. Why am I not talking? Because it's not my place to talk. It's everyone. It's the streets' place to talk. So I'm doing all I can because as a
There's only one.
resident, I'm already feeling that, and I'm doing so much.
Yeah.
Was that?
Like I said, he's only one person too. You can only
Yeah.
control what you can, especially
Yeah.
if you have a grounds for influence. I think that is the part where it's. I think when you have influence is when you are the most responsible for it, because like you can't. You have all this influence and you can do better, but you don't want to do better. You know, like how can you?
Yeah.
If it's just me, I'm not an influencer or anything, right? But I can hold the people close to me accountable. Like Pitu, if you said something wrong, you did something wrong, I can hold you
Yeah.
accountable for it. But that's just me
Yeah.
as a normal person with no social influence. For people who do have that social influence,
That's
who
doing your
have-
part.
that's doing your part and striking a conversation where you can, you know, because at the end of the day, it's like you have this platform. Why aren't you using it? You know, like the whole like look at this crazy. Look at crazy Samantha Katie James. What crack is she on?
Yeah.
I don't understand.
She was in a whole like okay, Samantha Katie James at one point she addressed all life matter. Her context of all life matter was there but in a different person, but the fuck she at one point she fucked up where she explained herself. That fucked up the whole
She could
thing
be she could be the
because it's
narrative
just
for
like
don't do drugs.
Not even once, kids. Not
Yeah.
even once.
But then after that the whole video of her surfacing where she was in Africa and she was fighting with an African lady, she's telling Malaysia is the best country, Africa sucks. That one made it all worse. That
Well,
one
like,
made it all
see,
worse.
look at the way she's arguing too. She's not even giving a very solid argument. She's like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Exactly.
I was so
It's
sad.
like when
I was like, is this
it's
what
like when
really
Kanye West
sorry.
yeah, it's like when Kanye West said slavery was an option. Like people like you just took it to that context, but he meant it in a different way because then he explained properly on what
He meant
slavery
it in a
meant as an
mindset
option.
level.
And all. He actually and then he meant it in the mindset. But Samantha Katie James, she didn't. She told, but she did. Her explanation was all crooked.
I'm not good.
She didn't know what she was like. She's just going with the flow. She fucked up at one point lah. And then the whole video came. It just that blew off all things.
I think also, like I said, she has such a big platform and she actually gained followers from this bullshit.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't understand how you
She
can
got
gain
20K.
followers.
I think. 20. I can't remember.
So I don't understand that we're giving her a higher platform too. Just what? Because she has tits? I don't understand. Okay, anybody can get tits nowadays, guys.
You can get tits, but you can't get healthcare, especially in America.
You can get tits, but you can't get a mind. That's what it is. And so I really saw that, and so she just said really shitty things. Honestly, like I don't even know how to explain her behavior. Just because everything she said was so and then she came up with this whole like holistic approach where like, oh, your soul, your mind, your body is connected. I don't even know how.
And then her way of apologizing the whole matter was also off.
Terrible. She's really on something.
Yeah.
I swear. I don't know what it is, but she's on something. She's really on something. Because I woke up and then I saw the whole news and I was like, what is happening? And then I saw her apology and I was like, ooh, girl, you need to just keep quiet. Just keep quiet. You know?
She tried to have some sort of like spiritual perception on the whole matter, but the thing is, this is not some spiritual bullshit thingy that's going on. It's a real thing. And when it comes to a real life situation, you need to be realistic about it. She just didn't see that lah.
Even spiritually, right? She was talking about rebirth and like, you know, being reborn and stuff like that. and she's saying that we get to choose our
She was telling that she's white.
and she's not.
She was telling she
Yeah.
was white, and then she had just had
Like
Indian
hell, you
parents.
are white.
She's, I mean, like,
It makes zero sense.
Like her context was all over.
mhm. Yeah,
Her context was all over.
her brain is all. Her brain is very special. I have to say. Ooh, that one is something.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
really want to know what was she going on
she's on.
with her.
Has your boyfriend participated in the BLM protest?
No, he hasn't, but he has posted things on social media on it. I think he has work lah, so that's one thing. He kind of protesting when he has work, but
Right.
I
But
mean,
yeah, sharing stuff can be participating as well.
and I think
You're standing by with them.
Yeah.
it's about what you can do. It's like,
Right.
he has work, and I mean, he's not gonna go if he has to work and stuff like that. But at the same time, this is his, this is his lineage. This is things that he has been through, and so he's been, honestly, I think his biggest contribution, if not to anybody, but to me, I feel it when he educates me about the topic. Like, even if he's not going out actively, going everywhere, with the protests and everything, he is actively talking to me about it. He's telling me why this happens, where this happens, how it happened, and stuff like that. If you can educate just one person about it, and for him, if he has educated much other people than me, that's even more wonderful. But for me, I have felt the biggest education from him, because I've asked him all these questions that I'm like, okay, you know what, but what about this movement? What about it that, why do you think this is this? Why do you think that is that? Because I think they have a Black History Month here. I think it's February or March, and I had to go to one of the conferences because it was something that my class needed, and I was honestly very shocked when I was hearing all these things, related to them, like how there was this one PhD student in my school who wanted to use hip hop as a means of education, because he feels there's a statistic, and it's I think they were saying that African American males, like, to complete their education, not a lot of them finish their education, something like that. I'm not sure about the whole statistics of the story, but that was the gist of it. And he was trying to come up, his whole PhD is basically about helping these African American kids to finish school via hip hop. And he's like trying to get music into the agenda and how he can help these kids move forward and progress. And I mean, I think it's insane, because all these things are things I've never thought about, right? And then, of course, being with him and listening to all these things, like hearing statistics and stuff like that, you're just like, okay, but why? And he has educated me the most about that. And I feel like, if anything, that is his biggest contribution to the whole thing, because I can talk to you guys about it.
Yeah. And we can talk to our Malaysian people about it.
Oh, yes. And I mean, Malaysia honestly needs a lot of education about it, because we actually have a lot of African people in Malaysia itself. And I think we don't have half the education that we're supposed to have, regarding their culture and how to approach it and how to educate ourselves further about it. Because we don't...
You know what's sad?
Mhm.
Last time I was a Grab driver, I did Grab last time before they had the requirement that you needed to apply formally and get that whole, ride sharing license thingy, right? So before that happened, I was doing Grab as well, and quite a few times I got Africans living in Malaysia or visiting Malaysia as my passengers, and I used to have a chit chat with them, and let me tell you a few things. One, they had always very, very good things to say about Malaysia. And honestly, the rise that we had, right, it's not just like,
I think they
you're such a
love
beautiful
Malaysia, I
country.
think, right?
Yeah, dude, seriously, because I was being very open to them, heart to heart, because I told them I know that in Malaysia that you can face discrimination and all that. But have you ever faced anything like that? And then they'll tell me their stories. They tell like what they went through. You know how much money they had to spend. You know they could even plan to come to Malaysia if if they didn't take bribery into their budgeting. Can you imagine that? You have to put bribery into your budget just to visit a fucking country.
Yeah.
Can you imagine that? And even after all this, I just apologize to them. I'm so sorry that you had to see this, because as far as I know, Malaysia is a beautiful country, but it is a beautiful country with a lot of problems, and these problems are not addressed correctly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know what they told me? No, even so, I still love Malaysia. Malaysia is a beautiful country. I would love to stay here, but unfortunately, I can't. Then I keep asking them, why not? You know that you have opportunities here. You have, and you will be able to if you just try. They said like, no matter how hard I try, no Malaysian will accept our presence. They said that in my car. No, you know how I felt another human being. You know how I felt. It was not just embarrassing. It was just like, fuck, I feel so bad.
Yeah.
You had to tell that to another Malaysian upright, you know, that although you, one person, may accept me, I know that majority will never accept me here. So there's no point with me trying to make any effort in trying to stay here, even though I really like it here and I think that I can do something here, you know.
Yeah.
I used to have a black friend, an
Mhm.
African friend actually, in college. His name was Ibrahim. He's a very good guy, very blinking smart. I swear to you, he was super smart. I had to go to him for accounting help.
Mhm.
And the administration, the management of our college at the time was so goddamn racist. They made him wait for everything like twice as long. They will service all the Malaysians first before him. They will talk to him very rudely.
Yeah.
They will allow people to cut his queue, and they will always put him last to everything, and they always just terrorize his behavior
Yeah.
even when he has done nothing. And I always felt like, what the fuck is wrong with everybody? Like, why are you unnecessarily doing this? It made no sense for you to do this, right? And the fact of the matter is that no matter what I say, no matter what I did, right, there's always going to be another fucking Malaysian to just oppress other people. And it's not like they've never faced oppression before. They have, and they're just like thinking eye for an eye, you know what I mean? Or like, like fuck you, you're probably some drug dealer or some shit without even getting to know the other person.
Such a bad stereotype. Like I've heard that so many times with them, and it's really bad. Honestly. Like
Mm-hmm.
I wish they had better. I wish people just treated them better. Honestly, it's just
Yeah,
the
it's sad, man.
We just
it's
people
really
be people
bad.
lah. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's like
it.
just be a nice person.
Mhm.
Honestly,
I like the fact that it took 2020 for us to
Mm-mm-mm.
realize that everywhere in the world is pretty much the same. All our issues and all this kind of
because
stuff,
nobody's
right?
got a job anymore. That's why.
Yeah, everybody's at home. But
Yeah.
it took
Everybody's
2020
jobless.
for us to come to this kind of light,
Yeah.
to this kind of understanding that
Yeah.
the world is a shithole.
It's a good thing
And
to
we always say,
actually
that's life.
know. Yeah, to actually realize it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, everybody says like, oh, that's life. But the thing is,
Mm-mm.
now we've come to this point of time where light has shined upon, that we question, what do you mean by that's just life? It cannot be that's just it. It can't be that, because it's wrong. You know what I mean? So I honestly think like I used to think that 2020 kind of sucks, but now I think 2020 was kind of necessary.
Mm.
Revolutionary, honestly. Like just
Mm.
it's insane. Everything has
Yeah.
piled on each other. Everyone, like everything. Just I don't know. There's so many things
And
that
it's
have
just
happened
like
here
in a
that
6 month. Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
this
Yeah.
whole 2020, like it's June now. I can't even
Yeah,
count how many things that have happened already. Like every month there has
Yeah.
been something. Like first Kobe passed away,
yeah.
and then COVID came,
Hmm.
and then BLM. What else am I missing? There's a lot more things.
Yeah, there's pretty much a lot
Sexual
more. There's
reproductive
actually
rights
way
now,
more, but the
way
only
more.
things that really garnered
Yeah. Way more.
our
We just don't
attention,
know about it.
yeah, the three main things that really garner
There's
our
the
attention is
BLM and
basically,
all.
yeah, BLM, COVID, and but Kobe's death is one thing, right?
Mhm.
But you see, in the early start of 2020, right, a lot of people passed away. Like for me personally, my grandma passed away in January.
Oh, I'm
Now,
sorry.
what what that taught me was that what that taught me was something that was already a given. You know, life is precious. You can go just about any time.
Right.
So if you want to do something, fucking do it.
Yeah.
But what her death actually taught me was that how much a person can be loved and have loved. Because right now, up from that time until now, my grandfather has been going through like a grieving process, right? And I'm like hanging out with him from time to time whenever I can. And what I can learn from him is that like love knows no boundary.
Right.
When my grandma was alive and everything, they used to argue a lot. But when it came down to it, when she passed away and everything, what really mattered was that I know I argued with her a lot, and then we had our differences, and we pretty much like tore shit up when from time to time during our marriage. But after all this been said and done, what really mattered was that she was the love of my life. She was my sweetheart, and now she's no longer around. You know what I mean? And then the stories he shares with me about their life and everything it's you cannot quantify the kind of stuff. You know what I mean? It's
Right.
just fucking amazing. An entire life experience and everything about it has just been uploaded into me.
People just need to start loving each other, lah.
Yeah.
They just need to start recognizing that the person in front of you
Yeah.
is the person that is a product of all the things that's happened. So is you are, right? And there is opportunity for you out there to accept and just cherish the presence of the other person, no matter who they are, even if they are bad. Yeah,
Mhm.
because both of you are not going to be here for a very
Yeah.
long time.
Mhm.
And if you think about it, Putu and I always talk about this, and we've came to the same conclusion. We are all in the same damn boat, and just because your side of the boat is not sinking as compared to the other side of the boat, does not
It's
mean you're safe.
bigger, yeah.
Yeah. So the point is, you're all in the same
You're in
damn
the,
boat.
you guys are in the same water, you know. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
we're in the same water, you know.
Yeah.
The people just need to start realizing that that's the whole point, lah. Like no
Mm-hmm.
matter if your boat is bigger or our boat is smaller, we are facing the same thing you guys are facing. So although it can
Mm-hmm.
be small, but we need to take care of each other. In this whole
Right.
in the whole water, like we need to start realizing that we are not the enemy. We are all allies. We all together in this. That's
Right.
what is missing in this society. I feel lah.
Right.
Right.
And it's true. I mean,
Mm.
society has to work together. I think that's one of the biggest things too. It's the fact that how so many people are so divisive is it's insane to think that so many people could be so divisive, but at the same time, everybody
Yeah.
comes to the same conclusion
Yeah.
that we're all one. Yeah.
Truth.
Hmm.
Mm.
I
It's just damn
think
sad how
it's
the
we were talking for a long time. I think shall
Yes.
we wrap this up because I have to go
So
home and I
45
don't
minutes.
I because I'm yeah, I'm not at home right now because I'm in my dad's office. So and then I'm afraid to go home like too late because there are roadblocks and all. And like going back to your point, me becoming an Indian guy going to a roadblock at
yeah.
night at this time, they'll be like
No.
asking what the fuck's happening here, you know.
Okay, it was nice
Yeah.
doing this,
So
guys.
okay guys, I'm gonna wrap this up.
Why nobody?
Okay, say bye to everyone.
Okay, bye.
Dominic, start clapping now.
I was like clapping, and then I think the